Ho, 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 ho. Welcome to You Rankin with me. Merry Christmas. I am your host, Chad Webb. Down here, we have the co-host, James Tancock. As normal, we have my wife, Kerri Webb, and we have some really cool new guests, my good friend, Kevin, and my other good friend, Lillian, who are husband and wife, and love Christmas as well, and just wanted to share some lists. So we're going to be ranking top 10 Christmas lists today. It's a little bit of a different format just because we just have our own lists. We were like, well, there's no definitive like set of Christmas movies that we could actually like rank. So we just prepared our own lists. We're going to each go around, throw out our number 10 to our number 1 because it's a top 10. And then at the very end, we're going to go ahead and we have a kind of a unique way we're going to try to compile these just in case, like, one movie ends up on like all 4 lists or 3 lists or 2 lists. And then we're going to try to section it out and come up with a individual ranking. And we'll list all of the movies in the order that they are ranked for the overall ranking. And then we will highlight the top 10 of the final ranking. Let's go around the panel and everyone can say what Christmas means to them. Kerri, would you like to start?
I love Christmas. Who doesn't?
Speak from your heart.
It's a great time, a joyous time, and we get some great movies out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Lillian.
Christmas is just about family and friends to me. I mean, maybe when I was a kid, I would have said presents, but honestly, the presents is just like an additional thing. It's just about connecting with family and friends because half the time it's the only time I see a lot of them. But I'm here just in spirit to have fun. I'm not a huge movie buff at all. So my list may be a little bit weird, but it'll be fun either way.
No, it's amazing because it's your list. Kevin.
That's right. I love making lists, but Lillian and I were talking before the show, and I tinkered with my list all day, and I think if you asked me next week or even last week or whenever, like it could be a totally different 10 movie list. So like Christmas lists, Christmas movies are just something that I really enjoy, though especially those ones that like hit you in the feels, and those are my kind of jam. So I'm one of those guys that really likes the softy kind of movies. So I guess I am a soft kind of guy. So.
And what is Christmas?
And Christmas has always been about family. And, I do like the presents, but now it's more about the presence of my beautiful wife.
So. James.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a time like for family. It's time to see people. Usually, like a lot of my families spread out across the country, so it's the only time we ever get to see some of them. Being married to Brittany for 2 years now, it's been always such a fun to get to see her side of that family around this time of year too. So it's always good to be able to connect with people and meet up, just have great times with them. And I just like the whole holiday spirit in general. I'm watching the movies. I just love the kind of feeling I get. Drink a lot, which is awesome. So I always like to have some holiday drinks once in a while. So it's always a great part about Christmas and the holidays. So, and I always, love movies about this time of year. I've got the nostalgic ones I like to revisit from watching when I was younger. There's always the more recent ones that are funny too. And I've got Brittany, my wife, has actually gotten me into watching those horrible, like the Hallmark and the Netflix Christmas movies, the extra cheesy ones. They're fun and they're great to watch. So it's
right there.
Great time of year.
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten into the Lifetime Hallmark type Christmas movies just yet, but I do love kind of like the cheesier the better a lot of the times. It's kind of the only time that's really the case for me and maybe for some other people. Yeah, Christmas movies, Christmas music, just the Christmas season, the holiday spirit. It's just all so special because it's limited to this like little gap of time. Where it starts, people may argue. Where it ends, people may argue. But you know, whatever it means to you, I think is perfect. It is that time for family. It's that time for just kind of goodwill towards man. That, you know, just that time to reflect on the end of the year and just, you know, think about how you can be, you know, maybe nicer to people and just, you know, not think about yourself too much. And that's why it's kind of like the spirit of giving and stuff like the season for giving and things like that. But yeah, I adore me a Christmas movie. And it was also very hard to make my list because I loved so many movies that are Christmas themed, both adjacent and like, you know, actual what I consider to be Christmas movies, where that line is different for other people as well. And, you know, we're not here today even to, you know, debate about Christmas movies or stuff. If you want to say, you know, something where a movie doesn't work for you or a movie really does work for you, that's totally fine. Because we're going to go ahead and talk about like all these movies that we bring up, because I'm sure there's going to be some overlap and things like that as well. But I'm ready to get started in on it. And, you know, if you also have any honorable mentions that aren't brought up, you can talk about those towards the end. And yeah, we can get into it now. Who do we want to start with today? All right, I'll go ahead and start. Let me actually bring this up. Okay, so my number 10, I actually just swapped this one. I threw on there, and this is one that didn't. I got to a little bit later, but since I've kind of watched it pretty much every Christmas now, and it really has been growing and growing for me as just one of the best Christmas movies. The Muppet Christmas Carol is my number 10. And it could be higher if, you know, I were to, oh, I forgot to mention, if there's something that is higher for you, let's say in your top 5, you can do a wait for it, and then we can actually, you know, get to that a little bit later. So I forgot to mention that. So is it higher for anyone, the thing that I mentioned?
It's higher.
It's in your top 5?
in my
Then
top
we'll
5.
actually wait to talk about it. So I forgot that rule. If you if someone says a movie and it's in your top 10 or top 5, I mean, just say wait for it, hold off on that one, or I have that a little bit higher, whatever you want to say to tell us that, you know, we need to talk about that one later because you love it just a little bit more. So Kerri, what is your number 10?
My number 10 is Die Hard.
That's a wait for it. Lillian, what is your number 10?
2000s, Dr. Seuss, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Ooh. Top 5 for anyone?
I don't have that one. So
All right. Let's just get our 10s around, and then we can go ahead and talk about any of them. Kevin, top number 10.
My number 10 is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nice. James?
I put Home Alone.
That's a wait for me. So let's go ahead and talk about 2000s, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Lillian, you can start.
Well, the main reason why it's on there is just for the sentimental value. It was the movie Kevin and I watched on our first date on December 2nd, 2020. So it's really just a sentimental thing. We do it now every year, rewatching it. So
that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I do like, I will say this, I do like the 1966 animated version way better. It's short, it's sweet, it's poem-like, but I have to put, you know, it on there for the tradition.
Great. Kevin?
I was going to say, I actually have the 66 version, but I could have gone either way for the same reason. Like, I'm more emotionally tied now to the Jim Carrey version. But ever since I was a kid, I would watch it every single time I saw it on the television. The 1966, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I even watched it this year. Like, I love the singing. I love the, you know, just the, like she said, the how it's kind of like, you know, it's very, poetic. And so that just, it always sticks with you and it stays in my head for days afterwards, and it's just one of my favorites overall. So I'll go ahead and talk about that one. But yeah, that was actually my number 6. So.
Oh, okay. The 66 one is what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there because I was kind of on the balance about either one. So I figured I might as well just go ahead and talk about the Grinch while we were out there, while we were talking about it. Yeah. We should go and we talk about the number 10 pick now. We're
still on the Grinch.
So I'm good with that.
I'm just going to go around with that one.
Gotcha.
James.
All right. I actually had this at number 4. I think this is hilarious.
Oh, so it was a wait for it for you.
This one was, yeah.
The 2000s Grinch?
Yeah, with the Jim Carrey one, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say wait for it, but we're almost done, so let's finish this one.
No, I think this is hilarious. I mean, I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan, so pretty much anything he's in is going to be up there for me, especially with the Christmas movies. And this one, I think I just put it up this high because it is like memorable to me, and it's funny. I can quote, I like to think, a good bit of it, and it kind of competes with some of the more classic movies because it's a good bit funnier. I just appreciate the comedy in it. That's all, really.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I think that is like the strength for that movie. Is it does have Jim Carrey. With anyone else, it probably would not have been as good. Some people don't like this one that much. Some people really love it. I'm more closer in the middle. I mean, I do have nostalgia for it because I was like 10 when it came out. So I saw this in the theater. It was very special for that reason. It hasn't been one that I've gone back to a ton of times. I can't remember. I think maybe it might like go on a little too bit long or, something like that. But I do love quite a bit of like parts about it. I think Cindy Lou Who is adorable in the movie. Little baby Grinch is adorable, and Jim Carrey is hilarious. A lot of really great character actors in it. I think it does really capture the spirit of that. And I'm not a huge fan of the animated one. But I think it's because I haven't necessarily like watched it a lot. And I don't really like the song that came out of it. I think it's really gross. And so it really just kind of creeps me out. But I think I owe that one another watch probably next season. We can maybe start with that one and maybe it'll get better for me. But yeah, this one is definitely a classic now. The 2000s one, or both of them really. So, I think it's a good time, but it did not make my list. Kerri.
Yeah. So the 2000s one didn't make my list either. I didn't really love it as a kid, actually, but it has definitely grown on me. It's one that I enjoy rewatching now, just not high enough up for me to be in my top 10. And then the animated 66 version, that one is my number 7. I really, really love that one.
Hell yeah. All right. So are we going to go into 9s now?
Or maybe
since
it's
I think
my
the
number
rest
8.
is...
It's my number 8.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, was The Nightmare Before Christmas, wait for it for anyone?
That was my 10. So.
Okay. Well, no. Yeah, we can talk about that now because that was Kevin's 10, right?
Okay. And Kevin should start.
Yeah, Kevin should start.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, The Nightmare Before Christmas, like it's one of those movies. It's is it a Halloween movie? Is it a Christmas movie? But like, I love it as a Christmas movie because of the ending and how everybody kind of comes together and Jack learns the meaning, and basically all of Halloween Town learned the meaning of Christmas and coming together, and what it actually means. So I love the stop motion animation. That's one huge win for me there. The songs that come out of this film are awesome as well. So I think that Henry Selick did an awesome job on the back of Tim Burton. And it just made for an excellent film that can be watched really at any time of the year.
Perfect. James?
Yeah, I think I'll just kind of piggyback off what Kevin said because I had this at number 8. So this made my list. It's definitely one I like watching around this time of year. Again, I love the animation style. I love, how everyone together at the end, like Kevin said. I enjoyed this one a lot, and I really only started watching this one recently, which is maybe why it's kind of lower on my list, because I know it came out like a while ago, but I definitely enjoyed this movie.
Perfect. And no worries. Yeah. So, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Everything these guys said is so true about this one. It didn't make my list just because my list is it's tight to make a 10 list. This one is probably just outside of it, but also I think because, yeah, you can watch it any old time. I think that's so true, and that's a strength of it. But like maybe as a Christmas movie, it might kind of like lose a little bit of a point for me for that, because maybe you might think it's more of a Halloween movie, or maybe it's just not enough of either to really solidify me as one of my favorite like Christmas movies of all time. Now, if you're going stop motion, you're going just holiday in general, maybe it might be a different story, because I love stop motion. I'm right there with Kevin. I think it's one of my favorite, maybe even my favorite style of animation, and I think it's excellent here. Henry Selick is just perfect at doing that style. He also did James the Giant Peach, which is also amazing. The music, Danny Elfman singing, it just like really has just like that its own unique style and vibe that's like very Tim Burton, but everybody thinks it's directed by Tim Burton, but it was not. Yet I think it works in like every little facet. And it's funny when the kids get the Christmas gifts and it's scary shit, and it's just hilarious. So I love that one as well. Kerri?
Yeah, this one didn't make my top 10, but it was close to being in my top 10. I think this is a really just an amazing movie. I think you can watch it basically October through December, really any time of year you want, but it fits all of those moods. So it's just a great one, even for like that transition time between Halloween and Christmas.
Absolutely. Lillian?
I agree with Kerri. It's a transition movie to me, so it didn't make my top 10. I also feel like I was in the wrong age group for it to be like an obsessive type craze for me. It's a solid movie, and I'll watch it anytime. It's great, but it's more of a November movie for me, but not a December Christmas movie.
That's a good argument. We need to get Lillian in the movie Battleground.
I was going to say, right?
All right. So there we go. Moving on to nines, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. And we started with me, correct? So
Yeah.
we'll move on to you.
Okay.
What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
I have it higher.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. So we'll wait on that. Lillian, number 9.
Bringing a new movie from the pandemic and Batman.
The original Batman?
Batman.
Batman.
I definitely also thought you said Batman.
Oh, interesting pick. Okay, Kevin.
I'm glad you picked that one. That's awesome. I went with number 9 is Bad Santa.
Yes. Anybody hired? James, number 9.
That Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Ooh, good call.
That's a wait for
I figured. And mine, actually, my number 9 is also Rudolph. There you go. So I think we're moving. No, we're talking about Fat Man first, I believe.
Yeah, and Bad Santa.
Fat Man and then Bad Santa.
Yeah.
All right, Lillian, you want to start with Fat Man?
So Fat Man, new to the list. It bumped off some yearly favorites for me just because I go through phases on my movies where I want to be all classics or I want something new. And this year is how I built my list. This year is something new. So there's new movies to the list. I'm yearly throughout the year. I'm a mostly either an action or a rom-com movie watcher. So
Nice.
This one brings it to the action part of a Christmas movie. And of course, Walt Goggins is amazing. And my brother went to high school with him. So I'll say that.
Ooh. Great. He's amazing.
But yeah, no, I had to put it on there because it was just such a shocker. It was first time watching it, and it bumped a bunch of movies off the list for sure.
Nice. Kevin?
Yeah, this one, I actually I teetered with this one. It probably is like 11 or 12 right now in my Christmas films. Just the action it does bring. Not the biggest Mel Gibson fan, but who is? I mean, you know, just go ahead and put that out of your head and just put your mind in the movie. And I love how it just puts the reality of Santa, and it's like this origin story that we have never heard of. And it just does such an awesome job. And Walt Goggins is hilarious in this. So yeah, Fat Man, it was this close to making my list. So I'm very glad we got to talk about it.
Yeah. James.
I have not seen the movie, so I don't have to comment on. I'm hearing that Walton Goggins is in it, though. I love that guy, so I'll watch just about anything what he's in. So I'll definitely look to check it, though.
Yeah, Fat Man it's interesting because I actually bought this I think in 2020 when it came out, or maybe I bought it last year, but I hadn't watched it actually until this year. So we finally actually got around to it, and I'm so glad that we did. I didn't love it, but I really liked it. I thought it was very unique and interesting because I was like, kind of where is this going? I thought that little asshole kid was kind of like extra. And you wanted to kind of see him get some comeuppance, and he does, and you don't expect like how. Walton Goggins, yeah, he's just like trying to get back at Santa, and stuff. And there's actually like a plot point they reused for that in a new Christmas like action movie that came out that's pretty excellent as well. So I feel like it's a really good one, and Walton Goggins is like really like he's funny, but he's also like very intimidating and scary.
Yeah, he's intense.
Because you're just waiting for him to just kill someone, and you don't know if he's gonna do it. Like there's like even like a little kid at one point where I'm like, is he gonna kill this kid? like how far is he gonna go with this? And yeah, there's a lot of great action. There's some scary parts with killing and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a different take on Santa and Mrs. Claus, and just like how elves work, and how like they're like kind of funded by the government and stuff like that. I feel like James would really like this actually now that I'm talking about it, because it's kind of like war-esque a little bit in that way. There's like a industrial complex with Santa and whatnot. But yeah, I thought it was really fun, and I'm interested to rewatch it multiple times and see if it grows on me a little even more than it already did, because I did really enjoy this one.
Yeah, I really liked it too. It didn't make my list, but I thought it was a really cool movie. I was like, I'd be excited to watch this again like next year, or make this like part of our annual Christmas watch list.
Probably, yeah. And even though Mel Gibson's not one of the best people, I still even thought he was pretty good as Santa.
He was good as Santa, as much as I despise him.
Fair, totally fair. Totally fair. Bad Santa, and that was Kevin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kevin.
So yeah, I mean the everybody knows it's going from one like extreme to another totally, and two totally different displays of a Santa. But yeah, this is your typical, I think, mall type Santa story. But I love how Billy Bob Thornton brought this to the screen. There's the old drunk doing the mall Santa stuff to make it into a robbery, and the elf is helping him, Tony Cox. So yeah, I love these kind of stories anyway, but just having them with these kind of characters and actors makes it even better. But yeah, I mean, Lauren Graham, I love her. Bernie Mac, rest in peace, he's awesome. John Ritter, rest in peace, he's awesome. So yeah, a lot of great characters, and they made a second one, but not as good. But yeah, Thurman Merman, one of the best probably Christmas characters out there. I will give him that.
James.
So I've only seen Bad Santa once, and I couldn't even tell you how long ago I watched it. So there's not too much I remember about it. I think there's just too many other movies around this time of year that I look to watch for that one. So I don't really have much to say about it.
Okay, fair. Yeah. So I think anybody who knows like kind of like my the types of movies that I love for Christmas, I adore Bad Santa. This is one of my favorite Christmas movies. It did not make my list. It's like number 11. And I was legitimately just looking at my list like, could I trade anything for it? And there's just so many great ones because with my list, I tried to envision it as like, well, I need to get this type of movie on there. I need to get this type of movie. So Bad Santa just made my 11th spot. So if we were doing 15, then it would be on there. But I still get to talk about it. Thank you, Kevin. I adore this movie just because it is very unconventional. There's not like a real Santa. There's not like real magic or anything, but I still think it gets to the heart of what makes a great Christmas movie because you have that kind of redemption arc for Billy Bob Thornton's character. And like, you kind of see him more as kind of like maybe a villainous character. He's not doing the right stuff. He's kind of a jerk. Whatnot, but then you see the juxtaposition between him and his friend who he steals stuff with, and then you realize that he's the true bad guy, and but then you get that redemption arc because of his relationship with Thurman Merman, and just that relationship is hilarious. I know it's terrible, but I just love when he's just yelling at this little kid. It's so funny. Like he's just like.
It's like a penny and a peanut in the advent calendar.
It's like, no, I don't want a goddamn sandwich. Stop asking me about my sandwiches. And he does shitty things to him. He's really mean at first, and he like tears his advent calendar up, eating all the chocolate. But then later he fixes it, and he makes it. He tries to do better. He tries to be a better influence in this kid's life. Teach him how to like stick up for himself. And then at the end of the day, he almost dies. Spoiler, he almost dies trying to get this kid a Christmas present because he has no one else. And I just think that really captures can you tell I kind of want this on my top 10?
Yeah.
It's so tough to have. There's so many great movies out there. I adore this movie. Love it to death. And Kerri.
Yeah, I like this one. It's not one of my favorites, but I do enjoy it. It is really, really funny, and it does wind up having a lot of heart. So,
yes, definitely, Lillian.
It's not one of my favorite movies. It didn't make my top 10. I don't dislike it. I would rate it a 3 on Letterboxd. It would be in probably the 20s for me if I had to rank it. I'm just not a huge dark comedy fan, so like I rank things higher on the list than the dark comedy style.
Totally fair. All right, so I think we're moving on to 8, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna start with Lillian on 8s. What is your 8, Lillian?
Well, my 8 kind of goes back to your intro where you say the cheesier the better. Like I'm definitely a Lifetime Hallmark movie watcher. I watch Christmas in July. Kevin hates it.
Is that it? Is that number 8?
No.
That's what they call it.
You have a TV movie as my 8. And I think it's actually an ABC movie. It's Holiday in Handcuffs. It's Melissa Joan Hart and Maria Lopez, where she kidnaps him and brings him to Christmas so that she can have a boyfriend there.
Holy shit.
She like kidnaps him with a gun and everything. She looks all crazy. But I don't know why, but it's the, even though it isn't a Hallmark movie, to me, it's like if it was on Hallmark, it would be the best of the Hallmark movies. But it was well done. Even though it is super cheesy, super like, predictable and fun and lighthearted. And that's kind of what I like about Christmas movies is I want to put them on in the background. I don't want to have to, I want the feeling, but I don't want to have to concentrate so much. It's not, what is it? Inception. It's, it's all about the feeling for me.
Yeah, you don't have to defend it. It's a great pick because you love it, and I kind of want to check it out, to be honest. Kevin.
Yeah, for those type of movies, that one's actually not a bad one. My number 8, I think that's where we are, correct? 8, yes, 8. My number 8 is a what do you call it? It's a movie that has a lot of stories going on at one time. It has a lot of fantastic character work. It is Love Actually. I know that's kind of a cliche pick, but I can't get past. I can never get past the Bill Nighy singing parts. Those are like my favorite parts. But no, I think every part of this is awesome. Hugh Grant does such an awesome job in this. And I think everybody is awesome. Alan Rickman's fantastic. Emma Thompson. So Love Actually.
That should have been a wait for me. I have it as 5, but I mean, I couldn't have said it better than he did. So.
Well, that's okay. We could discuss
Yeah,
it later.
yes, for sure.
James, what's your number 8?
Mine was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, perfect. And mine is no, did I change it? No, mine is the Santa Claus.
That is a wait for me.
Perfect. Okay. Kerri.
Okay.
Number 8.
My number 8, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 66.
Perfect. Okay. Anybody have that higher?
We already talked. Well, I do, but yeah.
Okay. We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Have it higher, right? No. He has it higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to say, because Lillian already talked about her movie. Has anybody else seen it and want to discuss it?
I mean, I've seen it, but I couldn't add much more than she said. So
I've seen a different one with Melissa Joan Hart in it.
Okay, well,
Kringle or Santa Kringle, something like that. I can't remember, but she was in another one too.
Yeah, she did a couple of Christmas movies.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I gotta say I haven't seen it. I kind of want to check it out because Melissa Joan Hart's awesome. She's Sabrina, she's Clarissa, and it just sounds kind of funny and fun. So I kind of want to check that out. But I haven't seen it.
If you like her, you'll like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's the lightheartedness of the story, like that. It's just not as like intense and all that. That's what I like about those kind of stories.
I feel like I'm just on the verge of dipping into those types of movies.
Yeah, exactly. You're a little younger than us, so that's totally fair. But you'll get there, trust me.
All right. So what are we moving on to? Love Actually, maybe?
That's Lillian's number 5, so we might actually want to wait for
Okay.
that one.
Okay. So move on to 7?
Yeah.
All right. And we'll start with Kevin. 7, Kevin.
7, Kevin. All right. My number 7 is Scrooged.
Okay. Oh, great one. Anybody have that higher?
Dark comedy.
All right.
Let's just still find out everybody's 7.
Yeah.
James, what is your 7?
I put Christmas Vacation.
Okay. Someone has that higher or no?
Yeah.
Okay. My number 7 is Arthur Christmas.
Wait. That one's higher.
It's higher? Okay.
Yeah.
Kerri.
My number 7 is A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Ooh. Okay. Lillian, 7.
My number 7 is also new to the list. It's my new favorite Christmas Carol story. It's Spirited. I love the OG spin of the OG Scrooge being.
Gotcha. Cool. Anybody have Spirited higher? Okay. All right. So we can talk about which first, Charlie Brown or Spirited
Arthur
or
Christmas
Scrooge.
was a wait for it, right?
Scrooged first.
Scrooge first, yeah.
All right. And Kevin brought up Scrooged, right?
Yep. That's
All right.
me.
Go ahead.
So Scrooge, we actually watched this last night. Yeah. So that's funny that we watched it last night. So she didn't like it that much, but it's definitely a Richard Donner style film. I love the Bill Murray's 3 brothers are the ghosts that come and visit him. I love how Richard Donner has the introduction of him as the TV executive, and he's it's just a it's a good, to me, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, movie that has the same story of like Spirited and like the what is it called? The Christmas Carol story. Yeah, it's just my favorite version of that story. I just like Bill Murray as a character, and I've always thought this one was a funny one.
Definitely, James.
I've seen Scrooge. I mean, I've seen Scrooge once, and I couldn't even tell you how long it was ago. So there's not much I can really add to this.
Hey, no worries on that. Yeah, Scrooge is one I came to a little bit later as well, but it's still been, I've been watching it for years, still like for like the last probably decade. I really like this one. This would probably, I'm trying to think, this might be my second favorite now version of that, because I've already mentioned my number 10 was Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
This is now my second one, and I wanted to watch Scrooge again this year just to find out if that was the case, and I think it still is the case. However, it's very close, because Scrooge does a really great job of taking, because a really shitty guy and just kind of turning it around.
Right.
I love the fact that they have stuff like the Tiny Tim character is not like he's not on crutches or anything like that, but it's this like little African American boy who saw his dad get murdered, and he doesn't speak anymore. So for the whole movie, he just doesn't talk, and at the very end he finally talks, and that's the whole big kind of thing that happens, and everyone's like, "What? Why he talked?" And I just think stuff like that is just really cute, really great. Has like some like representation in there. It's very fun. It's very funny. Very kind of like on the dark humor side of things. I love when Bill Murray is angry and calls that actress a little bitch. It's really funny every time that happens. It's my favorite joke in the movie, and I crack up every single time. Just because it's a perfect delivery of
his delivery is great. I think that was one thing that we kind of disagreed on, but that is just a matter of your take on comedy, obviously. So
definitely, and the ghosts are also like really unique.
Yeah, exactly.
The one ghost from Kimmy Schmidt, that woman,
right,
comes in and she's just like punching him in the face and stuff the whole time. It's like, what's going on? But it's like really fun still. I don't know. There's a lot of really great stuff about it. And not to mention Bobcat Goldthwait. To like
great call.
Come in and just like he's got fired, so he comes back in and he's got a gun, and it's just like
got a shotgun.
The movie just goes off the rails, and it's really fun in that way. So I love it. Great pick, Kerri.
Yeah, I'll say this was close to making it in my top 10. I think this is pretty solidly in our Christmas rotation. We watch it, if not every year, at least every other
when
year.
We wrap gifts, especially. It's like kind of the gift
Chad
wrap
was
movie.
like, we have to watch Scrooge while we wrap gifts. And it's a good one for that, because you don't have to like, once it's the Christmas Carol story, you don't have to 100% pay attention to it. And it just gets so completely insane at some point that it just winds up being really fun.
Yep, Lillian?
Totally.
Yesterday was my first time ever watching it. And I think it's funny that we both picked A Christmas Carol Story for number 7. He said I didn't like it. I don't hate it. It's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. Again, it's the dark comedy, dark humor thing that I just am not a huge fan of. And the whole time I was just like wanting to cover my ears, because the delivery, like Bill Murray, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's his screaming. It really irritates me, grates on my nerves. I mean, he's a great actor. He did a great job. It's just the way that he delivers it. It's just like, I can't hear it. But yeah, no, it's not a horrible. I would solid. It was all right.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're moving on to Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's you.
I'll start. Cool. This is one of my favorites, and I'll say actually, like, besides my top 2, anything on my list could probably switch places. But this is just such a special and cute movie. The music is amazing in it. Like we listen to this music all the time during Christmas time. It's only 25 minutes, but that's all you need for a nice little cute Christmas story. And it doesn't take up much time. Like you can throw it on and it doesn't super interfere with like, oh, we've got to watch all these movies. Like it's one you can just throw on really quickly.
Definitely. Lillian, have you seen that one?
Yeah, I have. It's a classic. It's a favorite for sure. It just didn't make my top 10. Doesn't mean that it's not great. Kind of like the 66 French movie. It's just one of those that is, always going to be around, always going to be loved, and it is what it is.
Perfect. Yeah. Kevin?
I mean, this one is fantastic. I tried to stick to just one of like a TV special or whatnot, so I stuck to The Grinch. But Charlie Brown Christmas is definitely right there, if not maybe a tidbit better. Like you were saying, Kerri, with the music. I mean, it was nominated for Grammys. It was nominated for Emmys. It won an Emmy. So things like that, like you take it kind of outside just the visual scope of the movie itself. And like you said, you can just throw it on in the background at any time, and everybody knows that's just that simple story. The little Christmas tree. If you see that little Christmas tree on a coworker's desk or something, everybody knows it. It's so iconic. And this is from the 60s. I mean, there's not many things that have lasted that long and held their value. So this is a great pick.
Perfect. James?
Yeah, I think you guys have all pretty much summed up. I had Charlie Brown Christmas at number 6 on my list.
Oh.
I was like watching this one. It's a classic. It's one of the ones like from childhood. I always watched it growing up. So I always like revisit this one around the holidays.
Perfect. Yeah. This one is definitely a classic for sure. Yeah, it is one that you can put on anytime. It's very short, very sweet. It is one of those where I think that the album that has come from it is just phenomenal. Like I like the album more than I like the special, but I like the special quite a bit as well. Even though it didn't make my top 10, but the album is like this perfect, like it's very Christmassy, but it's also like a jazz album. So it's just a phenomenal album. I kind of want to get it on vinyl. I've been recently thinking about doing that. But yeah, it's great. And the special itself, it's got all like the little beats from the actual like Indie Peanuts thing that you'd want to watch. But yeah, it also has the very sweetness about them, talking like getting like the not so pretty tree and like being like everything's kind of beautiful in its own way, and let's take something that doesn't get a lot of love and give it love. And I think that really is super important. The other thing too that I was trying to figure out is I was asking Kerri, I was like, dude, is Pigpen okay? Like do we need to call CPS and maybe get him to some sort of shelter or something like that, like clean him up a little bit? Like that dude, he's dirty. So anyways, all right, so we can go to Spirited.
And I think Lillian will start.
All right.
Spirited.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Ryan Reynolds. I mean, I think that he just plays himself in his movies pretty much. But it just quickly became my new favorite Christmas Carol story, and there's not really much to say about it. It's new, and I don't want to spoil it for those who don't have Apple Plus or whatever it is that haven't seen it yet. But Will Ferrell does good. Honestly, I'm gonna probably create a lot of enemies, but I can't stand Elf. I really can't. I refuse to watch Elf. It's probably higher on Kevin's list in his top 5. But he did a really good job in this movie. Will Ferrell did, and I liked. I've even forgotten her name.
Octavia Spencer.
Yes, thank you. I even like that story between them two. That was unexpected. And the fact that she can see the ghosts. It was a good twist as well. It was just a new take on a story that has been done hundreds of times.
Definitely. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say too much more, but I mean, as far as the just the overall the film itself, I mean, it's gotten great ratings. I was a little bit surprised, I think, at how much I enjoyed it. Not the biggest fan of musicals, but which I guess if you looked at this list I put together, you would not know that. But anyway, this really was, when we watched it, I was like, it's almost like you don't realize you're watching a musical because of the way the back and forth, even when they're singing between Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. And then, like she said, Octavia Spencer's right there. So great casting, and just there's great everything. Like, I mean, the ghosts that are that visit him. Like, I love Will Ferrell being, like she said, the OG. He's the original Scrooge. Like, they changed it up a little bit, but I think that's interesting, and you know, it kind of like Scrooge. It gives it just a slightly different look. That way, it's not directly from Dickens. So that's all I'd say.
Definitely, James.
I have not seen Spirited, so I don't have much to add.
No worries. Spirited was interesting. Like, yeah, it's not the most accessible. I think it was in theaters, but it a little bit. But like, it's also kind of an Apple Plus exclusive a little bit. So it's one of those, if you have that and you can watch it, then it's I think it's a really good time. I watched it. I wasn't expecting much, and I was like, okay. Oh, I slowly figured out that it was a musical. I was like, oh, they're actually like doing this. Okay.
Maybe that's what I maybe that's what
and then when I got on board with the whole musical aspect of it, like, you know, I think the first time that Ryan Reynolds was singing, and I was like, all right, they're actually like doing musical rules and stuff like that, and that's how they're actually doing it. I dug a lot of it. I really liked the musical sequences, and I was like, these are like legit. Like, Sean Anders did a really great job, I think, directing the musical stuff and the singing, and everybody was doing a really good job with that. As a Christmas Carol story, and as a really effective story, I'm not sure. I'd probably have to watch it again to actually like make that judgment. So yeah, it didn't win me over enough to make my list, or I don't even know if it'd be in my top 20 now. But it's competing with movies that I've seen so many times. And there is one movie that I've seen new recently that has won me over so much that it's really high up on my list. But Spirited just hasn't been that yet. But I do like a lot of the songs. I like a lot of the performances. And I think it's really fun. So, Kerri.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was really, really fun. I don't know how much more I can add. Like, I think this is just in general like a winning combination when you have like Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds, especially like Will Ferrell in this type of role. It's very much less like he is an elf and more like he is in his more serious roles, I would say. So I think even people who like hate, like, I know, like, I think my dad like hates Will Ferrell. I think even he would actually not mind this movie. And Octavia Spencer, like, it was really, really good. Definitely recommend it.
And it is really interesting, like, take how they like kind of start in like the afterlife thing. They're like, we're gonna go do this whole process that we do, and then the whole thing about like, you know, kid getting canceled for being like, oh, the homeless suck. And then stuff like, I don't know, it's just like really interesting with that. And it's like, wait, should somebody get canceled for like one little thing that they said kind of out of context and whatnot? So that was pretty interesting too. But yeah, are we moving on to another movie? Or we're moving on to number 6?
Number 6.
All right, number 6. And this is going to be like our last little slate before we can actually start talking about everything. Correct? So yeah. So
I think James start.
We're going to start with James. What is your number 6?
I put Charlie Brown Christmas. Which we
all right. Yeah. My number 6 is, and this is really low for what it is, but It's a Wonderful Life. I have number 6.
That's
definitely a hold off on that one.
Okay. I know. I said it's low. I agree. It's very low. And I'm sorry.
from me, dog.
Okay, 6, Kerri?
My number 6 is The Apartment.
Ooh,
Very good.
I love that. Anybody got that higher?
No.
Okay, Lillian.
Honestly, I didn't even think about The Apartment. I actually have a movie that I know is higher, so it's going to be a wait for me. It's A Christmas Story.
Oh, does
That's
anybody have
way-
that higher?
That's
Okay.
wait for it. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, James likes that one a lot. Kevin, 6.
Oh, my 6 is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 66 TV special.
And that's higher for someone or no?
I think that might be the highest.
Okay.
I think we've hit everybody that said it. Yeah.
All right. So what are we doing here, Kerri?
Let's start with
The Apartment?
and
Okay.
then we can do How the Grinch Stole
Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this movie, we watched it for the first time maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And it's quickly just become one of my absolute favorite Christmas movies. Like it's so funny. Like Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine are fantastic in this movie. Like it hits all of the comedy beats, but it's also just so heartfelt, like the story that's told. And it's one I think you can watch. Actually, we could watch it today or tomorrow because I think it stretches into New Year's, but it's one you can watch during like just this holiday season time. And I don't know. I really love just the story between the two characters that Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine play. Like I don't know. I just love it so much.
Perfect. Yeah. Great
I have a hard
movie.
time actually saying things.
That's okay. Whatever you want to say is fine. Lillian, have you seen the film?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't even think about this one. I feel like you could watch it any time of the year, but I agree it's kind of the whole holiday season. I didn't think about it, but it's like a classic rom-com, like the classic rom-com. So it should have been at least in my top 20, if not in the top 10, but for sure. I haven't seen it in ages though, because I just don't think about it. It's one of those movies we forget. Yeah.
Anything else to say, Lillian or Kevin?
I mean, I would just say, like it's like Kerri said, like there's a company Christmas party. So that reminds me of another movie that will come up, I'm sure. But it's a company Christmas party, and then there's also a New Year's Eve party later on in the film. So that is, it is one of those movies that kind of fits in a couple of different places. But yeah, I don't think of it naturally as a quote unquote Christmas film, but it is a wonderful film, and like Lillian said, one of the top tier rom-coms. Billy Wilder is just, I think, one of the best directors out there.
Yeah, James.
I'm in The Apartment.
All right, you got to fix that, buddy. The Apartment is a fantastic movie. I'm not sure if it made the Sight and Sound. I think it might have, because it's like considered to be like one of the greatest films of all time, and I totally agree with that. It's definitely up there. Billy Wilder is just one of the greatest directors ever. Just he knows how to write like a really solid screenplay. I mean, he started as a writer, and then this one is just kind of perfect. I love Jack Lemmon's arc in the movie. How he learns to stand up for himself, because he starts out like, just sat on a bench waiting outside for people to actually go fornicate in his apartment, because, he's getting stepped on by everybody higher up in his firm. And he's like, well, I want to actually do something in this company. So that's the way he does it is, he rents out his apartment to them, but he doesn't get money, but he gets like kind of prestige at work, and people like him at work, but they only like him for that reason and stuff. I didn't have this one on my list, not because I don't love it, not because it's not a great film, not because it's not a great Christmas film, but I do kind of like see this one more as more of a rom-com, more of a classic film, Christmas adjacent, I'd say. It is set on Christmas. I do think it still has some like Christmas-like themes, but like not strong enough for it to be in my top 10 right now. And I think I've seen this maybe twice now, I think. But I need to watch
2 or 3 times.
I need to watch it more. because it's really great. And I like it a lot. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, please check this one out. It is a great, great movie. So there we go. What's next?
How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 66.
1966. Kevin starting on that one?
Yeah.
Perfect. Kevin, take it away.
All right. So this was my so this is my number 6. And it like I said before earlier, it is something that I watched every year growing up. I know it was like a big thing. It would always be played only maybe once or twice. Maybe like the Sunday night before Christmas, and I'd always gather everybody around the fire and around the TV, and we had to watch it. And I'd even try to record it, when we had VCRs. But that's all, that all just shows you like how much I love and appreciate this one. Boris Karloff as the Grinch / narrator does a great job, and just that his voice just kind of like resonates in your mind when you think of that. And I juggled between this one and the 2000 one. But this one is like 27 minutes long. So you can just, it's kind of like the Charlie Brown one, like we talked about. It's something you can put on quickly, check it out. You can watch it, and you get the whole story, and you can get some great music, and you'll walk away like with the singing in your head for days. So yeah, I mean, this is just something that I have from my childhood. And it just had to make the list.
Singing for days. James.
Yeah, I think I really just put the 2000s remake on here just because, again, I appreciate like Jim Carrey and the comedy of it, but I always appreciate watching the 60s one too. I love the animation of it too. I definitely watch it every year also. It's a really good movie. I like it a lot.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I know this one's a classic. I know this is one that I should revisit to see if I actually really like it, because the animation is I'm sure incredible, but yeah, I don't know, for some reason I don't love the Grinch as a character in general, so I think that's why like I don't like, I'm not like, well, I have to have a Grinch one on here, kind of a deal. It's just like not super my style, I guess, but I do enjoy them as well. But yeah, like I said, I don't love the actual song. I think it's weird, and that's, I don't know, that's just a knock on me, I guess.
It is a weird song.
Okay, it's a weird song.
You're not the only one who thinks that.
It's just like, I don't know. I probably need to check this one out again.
Yeah, we should, because I haven't seen it in a long time.
Because of me.
Because you don't particularly like it. But I really, this is my number 8. I really love this one. It's a lot of nostalgia, I guess, for me. But I think it's also, I don't know, it's a good version. I like this version better than the Jim Carrey version, just because it is like a lot shorter.
More focused.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kevin said, something you can kind of just like very quickly throw on. I don't know, but I've always just loved this story in general, like How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Heart grows.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Yeah.
Yep.
Archism is one of the classics.
Yeah.
Lillian.
Well, I already talked about it a little bit, so I won't beat a bush. But I chose the Jim Carrey one as 10 over this one only because of the nostalgia. But I do like this one more than the Jim Carrey version.
Oh.
This year, Kevin was watching it, and I was cooking dinner in the kitchen, so I wasn't actually watching it, but I could hear it, and I could literally see everything that was happening in my brain, because that's just how many times I've seen it. So it's definitely a classic, and I love that it's short and sweet, and the perfect Christmas package.
Perfect. All right. Now we're moving on to the top 5, correct?
Yeah.
All
Sweet.
right. So are we going to move on to the 5s, or are we going to talk about anything, or we're just going to talk about them as we reach them?
I think as we reach them, we can talk about them.
Perfect. All right. So we were going back to me for number 5. All right. My number 5 is Miracle on 34th Street. The good version.
The good version.
Anyone know which one that is?
Yeah.
I'm assuming the Disney version.
It's the one from the 40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have that hot? Well, I guess no.
It doesn't. Yeah, we'll just talk about it.
All right. I'll just talk about this one
Well,
now. No, fives.
Do we want to go through
Yes,
all our
we do.
fives?
Yep.
Okay.
Haley, what is your number 5?
Okay. My number 5 is the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Perfect. Lillian, 5.
Love Actually.
Kevin, 5.
My 5 is the Santa Claus.
James, 5.
A Christmas Carol, the original one.
Ooh, nice.
The original Christmas Carol?
The 50s one, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. All right. So what are we doing here, Kerri?
I guess we just go through them all.
All right. So we start with mine.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll start with The Miracle on 34th Street. This one I'm actually surprised for myself that it's not even higher, because I think this is a perfect Christmas movie. It does maybe have actual Santa Claus in it, because that's the whole point of the movie. That's the whole question of the movie is that actually Santa Claus, or is it just a deranged old man from a nursing home who is going around like, I'm Santa Claus, I know everything about Christmas. But I love the question of it. I love the mystery of it. And I think it's answered at the end, but it's also kind of ambiguous. But it's just a really perfect movie. I love Edmund Gwynn as the classic Santa Claus. I think he's the best version of a Santa Claus that we've ever gotten. Back in the 40s, it's just the one, I think. And it's just him, we see a lot of these stories where Santa's jaded and he's like, kids are not really into the spirit anymore. And then, he sees a little girl who is Susan Walker, she's so logical. She's so, she doesn't have anything with whimsy. She's not, she's won't have anything to do with the imagination or dreams or anything like that, because she's got to be practical and logical, because her mom is this a big businesswoman who's running everything. And so she is basically teaching her kid to do that, because you have to work harder as a woman in the world out there. You have to work harder and just not, be up in your head with all these dreams and stuff like that. But, I think she's also doing it the wrong way, because she's a kid. She deserves to have a childhood and just, dream about things. And I think Santa Claus is the perfect character to come out and teach her how to be silly, how to hang out with friends and just goof around and just have dreams. And she wants her house, and she gets her house, and it's just a classic story with that. I think it's beautiful. I don't know. It's just one of those classic movies that's just really worked for me. I have to watch this one every single year. It's a must. It should be even higher, but I love so many movies. And, rest in peace. Probably a lot of the movie, but Natalie Wood, she's such a perfect.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone in that movie who is
still alive, probably. But no, I mean, she died way too young.
Yeah.
But, Natalie Wood is the perfect, sweet little girl in the movie. And I just love everything about it. I adore this one.
Yeah, this was my number 4. I really, really love this movie. Like Chad said, it's a must watch every year. And I think this is it's just so well done. The balance between, is he Santa Claus or is he not Santa Claus? It leaves it totally open to whoever's watching it. So it ends on whatever note you want it to end on. It ends on that note. And it's just so sweet. I don't know what else to say about it, but I think just the message, because there is the 90s version.
Yes, 94, I think.
Yeah, something like that, which I think takes this basic story and just ruins a lot of what makes the subtle messaging and everything that makes this movie just so fantastic.
Yeah, because they're sitting there actually talking about the intangibles, and that's more important than your focus and drive and logic and stuff like that. It's just you're putting all of that in front of your actual family and stuff like that. And the newer version, or I guess not newer now, but the 90s version, they'll try to explain every single message in the movie, and I'm like, Jesus, okay, we got it in the original movie. I think one
of the nice things about the original movie is you can grow with it. Like, you can watch it as a kid, and it's just a sweet story about a girl who meets Santa Claus, and then you watch it as an adult, and I think you get even more out of it, something different out of it.
I love that take. Perfect. Lillian.
It did make my top 10. It's a great movie, solid movie. I actually don't hate the 94 version. I grew up with the 94 version. You know, I was in elementary school, so like it does have that nostalgia point for me. And of course, I loved Matilda growing up, and you can't go wrong with this.
The only thing I like about the 90s one is Maura Wilson, and I think John Attenborough.
Richard Attenborough.
Yeah, and I like the ASL scene with Santa. But like this, you're correct about the story being better in the original. But I just grew up with it, so I can't say I hate it. Even it was like one of those things where which one's better, the book or the movie? Whatever, something's gonna ruin something. I saw the 94 version first before I saw the original, so it's like
Matilda. We just watched the musical Matilda, and then we watched the original Matilda, and I have such nostalgia for the original Matilda, and I've been listening to "Send Me on My Way" by Rusted Root for ever since I watched it. I love Maura Wilson. I love her to return to acting, but I'm glad that she's doing what she loves now. Kevin.
Yeah, man, this is a fantastic movie. Unfortunately, I'm an idiot and I didn't put this on my list, but it's one I don't watch every year, so and I don't know why. It's one I watched a lot when I was a kid, because it gave me like the feels, and I just haven't watched it in like a few years. I need to just rewatch it. That's all it is. But yeah, it definitely is. I agree with you on everything, like you said about Gwen, and like the whole story. This is the best version of that story.
Perfect. James?
Yeah, I've not seen The Miracle on 34th Street, so I need to change that for next year. I haven't seen many classics, but this is one I haven't seen, so I guess I got nothing to add.
Yeah, great. And this is one I would recommend anyone to watch if you haven't seen it. And it was one that on my other show, Picture This, I said was the best movie of that year and deserved to win Best Picture, and it was nominated. So I think it won. I can't remember what one.
No, it lost to Gentleman's Agreement.
That's right. That's another great movie, but
which is a great movie.
It is for sure, but yeah, I still ranked this one first. Okay,
and Glenn did get he won an Oscar, so that's cool. Yeah.
Yes, so no, we're doing fives now, so we'll do the Muppet Christmas Carol.
All right. Who had that highest?
I think I did, unless someone else has that even higher than 5. Okay.
All right.
So I'll start. Yeah, this one, I actually didn't watch this one when I was a kid. I don't think I watched it until college, but I love the Muppets so much. I can't believe I hadn't seen this until college. I think the songs are amazing. I think the story is amazing. I love the contrast between you have the Muppets and a lot of the times they're being very goofy, and Michael Caine is playing it so straight, and he's just absolutely amazing. And this is definitely just because I think it's a great combination of like lightheartedness as well as like the serious tone of any Christmas Carol version. So for me, this is just my personal favorite Christmas Carol version.
Amazing. Lillian?
I really don't have a lot to add to this one. I've seen it. It's decent. I just have never been a Muppets fan. The only time I ever watched Muppets as a kid was on Mr. Rogers. So like I never like watched all of the movies, or I can't even say I've seen maybe more than 5 Muppet movies. So it's just not top tier for me. Not bad, it's just not top tier.
Great. Kevin?
I like the Muppet movies, and this is my favorite, I would say. It actually was going to be either this or Scrooge. I was going to pick one or the other to be my Christmas Carol story. I went with Scrooge, but I am always down to watch the Muppets Christmas Carol. I love that, like you said, Michael Caine is just fantastic in this, and also I think that like Frank Oz does an awesome job. Like everybody who plays the Muppets does like A+ work, and even like they have like side characters like Rizzo doing like he's not even really like doing anything necessarily, but he's just kind of providing like commentary, and it's still hilarious. So this is definitely a great pick.
Absolutely, James.
The Muppets Christmas Carol is definitely like a cute take on it, and I watched the Muppets like a little bit growing up, but I haven't watched too much of that stuff either. I had the original Christmas Carol #5 just because I think like as much as I like all like the variations of the story, it just makes me think back to the original so much, and I think I just liked seeing this one so much the first time that everything just kind of like goes back to this one. And I'll shout out, of course, the Jim Carrey one because maybe I'm Jim Carrey biased. I think 2009 or something, but I like the Christmas Carol story a whole lot, and the original one's probably just the one you can't really beat for me. I know remakes and different versions of originals can be there sometimes, but in the case of a Christmas Carol, I think it's just the original one's the best one I like the most.
Nice. I also love Jim Carrey, but as far as like Christmas Carol movies go, I'll be honest, I haven't seen a lot of them. I might have seen bits and pieces of like one of the originals. I don't know if it was the 50s one. I think there's maybe even a 30s one. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of them, and they're all called like kind of different things. I have an ambition, a goal to watch all of them, but it's hard to watch the same story over and over and over. And then a lot of the times, if you have a favorite one, it's like, I'm going to watch just that one. I think that's where, I kind of have like the two where it's, Scrooge and Muppet Christmas Carol. And so I had this at 10, but it's just because I love so many of these movies in my top 10, and that one's a newer one for me. But I think it does embody, it's in my top 10 because it does embody the Christmas spirit, and it just does everything like on such a high level. Like the Muppet stuff is great. All the lines, all of the detail, all of like the different kinds of Muppets that they have are very funny. But even so a lot of the Muppets have like some of the deep stuff too. Like when you get to Kermit's house with Miss Piggy and their little kids that are pigs and frogs, and Tiny Tim is a little frog, and all of that stuff is just really cute and really sweet, and it just really grounds it and makes you like care so much about a lot of these characters. Then you have like some of the great songs like Marley and Marley. That's really fun with the chains and the ooh, and it's just a lot of really great songs. And then when Michael Caine goes, he's just a giant bastard in the beginning, but then I love how it just really shows you like kind of why he went that way and why he is the way he is. And then his arc, I really feel every time, even more than the Scrooged version, because it's just like he's sitting there so sad and just so kind of just like really, like Kerri said, playing it so straight that you just like believe him, and you want him to get better and be a better person. And then when he's like, shows up and Miss Piggy's like, you get out of here. And then he's like, you almost like you love the fact that he was a piece of shit for a while, so that he gets to do this whole thing where he's like, psych, I'm good now. And they get to be all surprised, and they just sing a happy song together about the Christmas spirit and the joy of Christmas and being together. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a perfect movie. I love it so much.
I will say Michael Caine's probably my favorite Scrooge.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For me as well. But I need to watch more of those movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, are we moving on?
So we are moving on to Love Actually, and I think Lillian will start us off.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I can't beat what Kevin said about it earlier when it was lower down on his list. for the same reasons, for the comedy, for Let It Snow? When he changes
Come on and
ballad
let it
into
snow.
a Christmas song. But I actually missed this one when it first was released, so I was a latecomer to this one. So I missed a like crazy, obsession over it. But I do have it as number 5. Just because it is, all in the feels. It satisfies all my rom-com loving tendencies. But I can't beat what he said. I would have said exactly what he said. I'm not gonna.
Perfect. Do you have anything to add, Kevin?
Not really. I mean, like I said, the main thing about this movie for me is just the story association, like how it just intertwines all the stories and how they all come together at the end. It's a great story that way, and that's why I put it on my list. So
perfect.
And it was number 8 for me.
Yeah, James.
I haven't seen Love Actually, so I got nothing.
Yeah. This is one that's interesting because there's people who adore it, who are stans of this movie, and they'll argue home for it. And there's some people who really don't like this movie at all. There's actually I feel like quite a few Christmas movies that are kind of like that. But I feel like Love Actually is maybe the most divisive one. I don't know if I could argue that it's one of the best because, it is kind of like an anthology in a way. There's all these different stories that they do kind of come together, but there are very separate too. And I think you have kind of like your favorite, like different ones, like you have the Alan Rickman one, the Liam Neeson one. And it's also very uniquely British where it's like, there's a lot of really fun like kid stuff in it, but it's also very adult. Like there's like kind of porn sequences in it that it doesn't show much, but like I'm also kind of like, you wouldn't want to like really watch this one with your family, but it's also got a lot of really great kid stuff. Like I love the end bit with the little kid who has that crush and that little girl's like singing and she's like, all I want for Christmas is you. She's pointing at him and he's like, and then she points to other people and he's like, it's just like really great moments like that. And there's a lot of really great stuff. There's a lot of really sad stuff about like Alan Rickman cheating and stuff like that. That's like really kind of sad. It's like a lot of different emotions you feel when watching this. The Rowan Atkinson bit is hilarious with the gift wrapping. So there's a lot of really different stuff you can feel with this movie. And I will agree. Bill Nye singing, I feel it in my fingers and in my toes. Just like changing all of these like love songs to be about Christmas.
Yeah.
Stuff is just like really fun. And it's also kind of sweet that like his kind of story is like being there with like his manager. And it's like a different kind of unconventional kind of family that he finds and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty great movie to be honest. It's not in my top 10, but it probably would be close. I need to watch this one more. It's unique.
Yeah, there was definitely a time when this was in my top 10 and it definitely could get up there again. And just like when I made this list, we haven't watched it in a while, but this is an amazing movie. It gets me every time. Like all of the stories, I think they actually wind up flowing really well together and they're all just like very unique in their own way. I love like the scene with Emma Thompson when she's just like listening, the Joni Mitchell music is playing. Like I think that's just amazing. That's in my opinion, like she has amazing work always, but that's some of her best work. And I love Alan Rickman, even though his character is dick in this movie. I just love Alan
when
Rickman.
is his character not, I guess? Oh, Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest, yeah. And the end scene at the airport, I think that I love that scene. It's so beautiful.
Definitely agree. Are we moving on to another?
We are moving on to the Santa Claus.
Yes.
I think Kevin had it
the highest. Yeah.
Yep. That is my number 5. So yeah, the Santa Claus is one of those stories to me that first off, I think it's a great film just overall because it spawned two sequels, and I think Tim Allen did a great job in his like banter with Judge Reinhold and Dave Krumholtz. but he also works well with Eric Lloyd, so that's really cool. So him taking over as Santa Claus, and then at the end, like it's all about like believing. I love those kind of stories where it kind of flips it on itself. It's all a story about like can they get everybody to believe, and that I always like those because it makes me kind of feel good at the end of at the end of a movie. So yeah, that's why I went with the Santa Claus.
Perfect. James?
Yeah, I like the Santa Claus. It definitely is. It's actually one of the movies I'll watch around this time of year too. I will look to watch it, mostly for the reasons Kevin's already talked about. But there's just other ones that I like more than this movie. It's cute, it's funny. To appreciate for what it is, but there's just others I like more. That's all.
Perfect. Okay, I adore the Santa Claus, and in fact, would it be weird for your math if I swapped this with Arthur Christmas?
I mean, yeah, you can do that.
Okay, I definitely want to do that because it should be higher. It's so weird. I freaking adore this movie. It's perfect for me in like its own way. It is. I don't know. It's just like a great, like, it's kind of an origin for Santa Claus, but also not really, not like the Santa Claus or the Santa Claus. But it's an origin for that Santa Claus, and I love that Santa Claus so much. I love Tim Allen in this role. Kind of trying to relate with this kid, and this kid believes, but he doesn't. He has like a whole arc, and then he gets to cut through, Neil's. Kind of like jaded, I don't believe in Christmas type of thing, like logic, like therapy logic or whatever.
Neil's head comes to a point.
Yeah, right. When he finally gets his weenie whistle, and his wife gets her mystery date board game. They finally see like when Neil goes, Santa, and it's just perfect. I don't know. And then when she's like, when they're taking off in the sleigh the first time or whatever, and she's like, Scott, and then the last time she was Scott, Santa. I don't know. It's perfect, like how everybody kind of changes in it, and I just love the kind of arc. I mean, I think there's probably a little bit of like some pacing stuff, whatever. You want to like argue about the actual movie. Maybe like some of the sequences of him showing his issues of becoming Santa, like, getting fat, his hair growing, going to the doctor, all that stuff. Maybe that could have been shortened up, but, I just think it just does such an epic, like, I love the sequences at the North Pole. I love all of the like little things that they do to like change, like, where Charlie's like, what's a rose? What's a ladder or whatever? He's like, it's not a ladder, Charlie. It's a rose.
Such a ladder.
It's a rose such a ladder. It's an actual ladder in the movie.
Rose such a.
So they just play on words and like all the nursery rhymes and stuff that they come up, or the Christmas rhymes that they come up with. It's an actual ladder. It's an actual clause. It's not just Santa Claus. And it's just really fun in that way. There's so much fun in this movie. Just lines that I could quote over and over and over because I've adored this movie since I was a kid. Honestly, should be a lot higher. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here.
I think that for myself now.
Can I put this at number 5?
You can. What?
That'll switch everything up. No. So I'm gonna keep it where it is at number 7 now.
Yes.
Right? But this should be in my top 5. I adore this movie so much.
I actually, when I was a kid,
here we go.
I hated Tim Allen movies. Like I blanket hate. Like, so that was this movie included. I did not like it. I think it was just I didn't, when I was a kid, that sort of comedy that he was, especially in the 90s, like the movies he was in, just didn't appeal to me. I do really enjoy it now as an adult. It's very much grown on me.
I was a Home Improvement fan, so I didn't have this one didn't make the list, but it's cute, it's adorable, like, definitely a good watch for Christmas. But it just didn't. It's not one of those that like I have to watch. If it's on, I'll watch it and it's great and I'll enjoy it. But it's just not one of those that I say, oh, let's watch this.
We're watching it tonight.
No.
Hell yeah, it's a must watch for me easily. Great. What are we moving on to?
So now we'll do the Christmas Carol, starting with James.
Like the original 50s one.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's just the 50s one because right, Chad, there was one from the 30s, and there was I think it was an all silent one.
Yeah, that one was called Scrooge, though.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was an early 1900s one because the novella, I guess, came out in the late 1800s. So there's a few before the 50s, but I think Alistair Slim, I think it's Sim. I think he just does such a great job. This is like, I don't know why I thought the concept of like the ghosts of Christmas, past, future, and present and future, was just such kind of like a cool concept to me. And like I said, with all like the renditions you get in the following years and decades, really, I think it's just such a cool story to like develop on. But I keep going back to the one in the 50s just a lot. I like the 50s one the most.
That's perfect. Yeah, that makes me want to watch that version now, but I'll probably check that out next year because I haven't seen it, so I don't have much to say about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but based on your recommendation, I think it's one we should definitely check out next year.
Definitely. Lillian?
I've seen it a couple times. It's been a really long time since I've seen it. I mean, obviously, it's a good movie. It's a good story. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many remakes. So it's definitely a classic, but it's just not one that I gravitate to.
Definitely. Kevin?
I actually haven't seen this particular version, so I would like to watch this one. I'm kind of like you. Like, I would like to see every version and kind of re-pick or reorder.
Yeah.
Maybe we should next time rank every Christmas Carol.
We should totally do that. Let's do that.
Ooh,
I like that
that'd be a fun
idea.
one for next year.
There's like 15
Yeah.
or 16 of them, so there's
It'll
probably
take
a
the
lot.
whole year probably. Just to
I got
spread
a whole
Watch.
list because Alonzo Duralde, I believe, did the Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas. I have that book.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
a lot of the different ones, so we'll probably just go off of that list because I think it's got all of the important ones.
Cool. Yeah, that'd be fun. But I'd love to watch it. But it sounds like a good one.
We're going to our 4s now, and we're starting with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we already talked about my 4, and that's Miracle on 34th Street.
Great. Lillian?
Just Friends.
What?
Just Friends.
Just Friends.
Oh,
okay. Great. Kevin?
Hello, Joyce. I was about to say. Hello, Joyce. My 4 is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Perfect. James? 4.
We talked about mine. Mine was the How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey one.
Okay. Mine is the new one that I talked about that came out this year, and it's like one of my favorite things in the world now. It is the Guardians Holiday Special. Yes. So we're gonna do.
We're gonna start with Just Friends.
Just Friends. Perfect. Lillian, take it away.
I mean, another Ryan Reynolds movie makes the top 10 for me. But you can't go wrong with this one. I actually debated putting this one on there at all because, I mean, it happens during Christmas and Christmas things are happening and Christmas scenery is everywhere to be seen. But I feel like this one I find myself watching even when it's not Christmas. So it's just fun. It's funny. It's about friendship, friends to lovers, rom-com, like all that kind of stuff. But the Hello, Joyce is amazing. There's just so many good little tidbits in there, and I tried to explain. I actually did this to Kevin in the kitchen, and I had something in my mouth, and I go, "I'm a blueberry," when she's eating all the toothpaste.
Oh my God, that's right.
Like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you don't remember Just Friends? She's got all the toothpaste coming out of her mouth.
Yeah, this is a movie we quote like daily, at least like weekly in our house. So that's a great pick. it's one that I would watch throughout the year. So I didn't really think about it for a top 10 Christmas list. But I was trying to keep it to just strictly Christmas. Again, my list could change tomorrow. So, but yeah, Just Friends. I love the cast. I love I just love the all the inside jokes, I guess. And yeah, it's just a fun thing we have going on. So
Love that, James.
I have not seen Just Friends. I'll have to put it on my list.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it is kind of a fun movie. I saw this in the theaters when it first came out, and yeah, okay.
I didn't know that. I thought we watched it for the first time together this year.
No. Yeah, I saw it, but we did make sure to watch it because it's just been such a long time since I've seen it. Apparently, she's never seen it, and yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's definitely a Christmas movie, but like it's also yeah, like something you could watch. It's more like a rom-com movie, I think, but it's also, and Kerri will tell you, it's also very uniquely 2000s. Like it's very of its time.
It is.
It's one of those to where like it's funny, but also I think like sometimes you're just also kind of like, did they like have to like play so hard into the whole fat thing, like
right,
like make them like this thing's like I haven't had sweets in 15 years or whatever he says. And
yeah, he hasn't touched.
It's just one of those things, but yeah, it's fun. I love his like little brother. I think he's hilarious.
He is hilarious.
I'm not like a big like sex comedy person. I don't like love those types of movies, but this one does sometimes fall in that vein, and that character is like one of those types of characters where he's just like the little brother that's always just trying to like get laid, and like he's really
he's on the phone when Ryan's on the phone, and he's always like, "Oh, I love you." He's just messing with him.
Yeah, and then like just the whole stuff between him and his brother, where they're always just like he's always attacking his brother. It's just like very, very fun, very funny in those ways. I don't know if like the actual like romance story stuff, works for me. Like, what the hell happened to Amy Smart, by the way? Where'd she go?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Anyways, yeah, it's a fun movie. Yeah, Kerri?
Yeah, so I watched this for the first time this year. So
Sorry,
I didn't really have much. That's okay. I'll be okay. I didn't really have any nostalgia for it, and I do think like watching it today, some parts of it are kind of like, oh wow, like you can tell they made that in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
But I think overall, the overall story was really sweet. I tend not to gravitate towards rom-coms, but it's one I would probably watch again.
Perfect. What are we moving on?
Oh, right. So we are moving on to Christmas Vacation.
Yeah. Who starts?
Kevin.
All right. So this is my number 4, and so this is a Jeremiah Chechik film. So yeah, this is from the 80s. I think it's like going into the 90s. That's clear. I've always gravitated to this film because of like the story, like the deeper storyline, like how Clark is all about. He thinks Christmas is just all about like the bonus, the money, like getting the pool, and he's disappointed, and he even goes to the lengths of like getting his boss captured and all that. Like, but eventually he does come like full circle and realize that there is a deeper meaning to Christmas. So like I do this. That's why I've gravitated to this one. It's my favorite of the Vacation series, and I would actually put this one on throughout the year as well because of that. But yeah, I mean, I think Chevy Chase is hilarious in about anything. So yeah, this is my number 4.
Perfect, James.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas Vacation is something I'll definitely watch every year. I'll always look to watch it and like always be excited when I get to. It's funny. It's got so many memorable moments. I think it's pretty quotable. Actually, there's a lot of good lines in it. There's a lot of memorable scenes from it. I think it's hilarious. This is number 7. There's just a few other movies on my list I would watch a little more, or maybe think are a little bit funnier than this one. But I love Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, yeah, this definitely is a classic. This is in my like my 20. It's not in my top 10, but it's great. It's like one of those where like it has like so many fantastic moments. I love like a lot of the gags and bits in this. My favorite part of the movie is his cousin Eddie, because he's just like hilarious through and through. When he shows up, like all of his lines are classic. He's just so weird, and like it's just kind of like that guy that he didn't expect to come. He doesn't really super want him there that much, but
I feel
like
like everybody has a cousin Eddie though.
yeah, exactly. It's super like relatable in that way, even though like cousin Eddie is like kind of more weird than anybody you've ever met. But you know, just like my favorite joke in the whole movie is when he's like, "You hear that, kids? I think I hear sleigh bells. I think I hear Santa sleigh or something like that." And there's like a real big long pause, and then he goes, "You serious, Clark?" That's one of my favorite things ever. I think if I were to, because there's a lot of like really like great comic bits, but there's also a lot of like really deep moments, like where he's watching the home footage of his, you know, his family Christmases from long ago with his parents, and he's getting all sad. That's real deep because you could probably remember somebody that you know you might have lost and you had spent Christmases with, or you know whatever, just like Christmases that you remember. And so there's a lot of deep stuff in it too, and it goes over the top. It's very silly, like with the sled stuff, and it's like you know, none of that stuff would ever really work. I don't think the cat dying is funny. I never liked that joke because I love cats, so I just don't understand that humor, where it's like, oh, the cat exploded. That's hilarious. And then the other thing that I would cut out of the movie that I think is actually pretty cringe, and I don't understand why it's there. It's probably because of like just the '80s humor. Is like him like fawning over that like one woman at the jewelry store, and just like you know talking about her like you know private parts and stuff like that the whole time. Like that's played for humor. And then he like keeps imagining her like in the pool, and I'm just like, why is this here? Is it here just to make me cringe, or is it just here for because other people think this is really funny? I don't know. I don't like those parts, but other than that, it's just classic. And you know, Juliette Lewis, uh, what's his name? The guy from Big Bang Theory.
Johnny Galecki plays
Yeah,
the kid.
Oh, Johnny Galecki, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So many great stuff in this movie. I love it.
Yeah, I really love this one. This was my number 9. And it's really only lower ranked because I just had difficulty like trying to like rank all of these as compared to each other. For me, it's definitely a must watch during Christmas. I just love all of the physical humor in this. And it's just like a great one to throw on and just have like a nice time.
Yeah, like when I was like stapling the lights, I was like, I better not staple my sleeve to the house. Lillian?
For me, it's I mean, it's a solid Christmas movie. I just haven't seen it in way over 10 years, and I mean, maybe if I had seen it recently, I'd rank it a little higher, but it's just not one I gravitate to. Not say anything bad about it at all.
Perfect.
And now the Guardians Christmas special.
Guardians Christmas special. Does anyone else have this on their list, by the way?
No, I totally forgot about it.
Okay, so yeah, I was like, well, I want to do mostly movies, but this one is just my favorite thing that has happened recently. It's like, I don't know. This one just so worked for me. Like I just in the MCU, I just love the Guardians so much. And this one changed a lot for me. Like I didn't love Mantis before, and now I adore her because she was excellent in this. And I just thought she was so funny. She works so well with Drax. Drax is amazing in this. And I just love, you know, spoiler for if you haven't seen this, the whole plot is, you know, they're trying to make Peter Quill's Christmas magical by stealing Kevin Bacon or kidnapping Kevin Bacon as a Christmas present and bringing him to Peter and saying, here's Kevin Bacon, the great hero from the tales that you've told us, from Days Old and stuff, and they find out that he's just an actor. They're really upset about it, and they're like, "This is dumb. You're just a stupid actor." But like, I just love the Christmas vibe and Christmas spirit that brings to it. Kevin Bacon just seems like he just loves Christmas so much, and I love that he's like a producer on this. He wrote a song with the old 97s, I think they're called. And just the music in this is just incredible. The soundtrack is fantastic. Well, the unofficial soundtrack, I guess. All the music that's in it's fantastic. The score, but then also the songs and the original songs. Like, I love like the joke song that they do at the very beginning, which the aliens who don't know what the hell Christmas is, but they've been kind of told what Christmas is. So they're like, I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here. And they're just explaining what they think Christmas is.
It makes very little sense.
And Star-Lord is just sitting there like, no, that's wrong. And it's just like, it's just so funny. But it also, Kevin Bacon gets kidnapped. They wake him up out of his mind control, and then he's freaking out. But then, he's talking to his wife or whatever on the phone. He's like, I may be late, so I need to teach somebody about Christmas. And so then he goes and he sings a song, and it's really special. It's about loving the people around you and just having someone there to, love you and hold you. And it's very cheesy. So it's perfect for a Christmas thing. It's epic. It's just, I don't know. I could just go on and on about this freaking thing because I adore it so much. But yeah, it's perfect. Kerri?
Yeah, I really love this. It didn't make my list partially because it's so new and there's just so many classics that I love a lot. Like, I think my list is actually like all kind of mostly classics, at least for me. But it was amazing. I think we watched it twice, actually, right? Yeah. So
we need to watch it more.
Definitely recommend it. Hasn't seen it yet
because it's only like 40 minutes.
Yeah,
so
it's like really short. It's sweet. It's great.
Lillian.
So it didn't make my list because again, it like Kerri said, it is so new. I also wouldn't have thought about it as like a movie. I think the thing I like about that particular thing is it fills in a lot of blanks from all the movies. So. True. So, like, there's a lot of character plot or character aspects that aren't in the other movies that they kind of like shove into this Christmas special that you're like, oh, okay, that's how that happens. So I think that is what makes this one unique. But yeah, it just didn't make my list, but it was great. Loved it.
Perfect. Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, I for sure loved this. I wish I would have had a chance to like rewatch it. I watched it like right as it came out, and I don't quite remember it like super well. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it for sure. I do remember the Drax Mantis story. That is hilarious because they're like the two best to put together. But yeah, I mean, as far as this was just a great opportunity for them, for MCU, to put out something as a holiday special. And yeah, I will probably watch this like every Christmas.
Drax, do you want to save Christmas or do you want your little funny man? Funny man. James, did you see this one?
Yeah, I've watched this one. It was hilarious. I loved every bit of it when they were thinking of ways to help Peter Quill have a great Christmas, and the camera pans to Kevin Bacon. I was dying. Like, it's just right off the bat. I loved it off the beginning. There was a couple of smaller lines that were funny too, just kind of like smaller one-off bits of dialogue when he's trying to get away, and Nebula was like, "You cannot run me, Bacon," like stuff like that.
You cannot run me, Bacon.
Yeah, just all the stuff like that kind of got me too. So I love pretty much every aspect of it. But again, I try not to let like recency bias play into it. There's too much else on my list that I like a lot more and just usually watch a lot more this time of year. But if we expand it beyond 10, it'd probably be out a little bit outside the top 10.
Perfect. And I love how Star Lord calls it for what it is. It is, and is like, this is human trafficking.
Okay, so we'll go to our number threes, and we'll start with Lillian.
The Family Stone.
Oh, okay. Kevin.
I went with Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Yeah, sweet. James.
I put for number 3. I put Christmas Story.
Perfect. My number 3 is Die Hard.
Okay, and my number 3 is It's a Wonderful Life.
Perfect. So
we'll start with Lily and then the Family Stone.
Perfect.
I mean, I chose this one just because, like I said at the beginning, it's more of a rom-com gravitation, feel-good movies. I do, however, like Sarah Jessica Parker's character is the Ice Queen, and she just can't be cracked. And really good cast. Love that the spin on Sybil is a breast cancer survivor, and she's not an aggressive recurrence, so it's still lighthearted, and the family's together, and they're trying to, deal with that news, and also a dysfunctional family Christmas. And then at the end, some of the couples swap pairs, and they're remembering Sybil, the mother. So it's definitely a good family movie for sure.
And I'll say Lillian is just a really big 2005 Christmas movie stand. The Family Stone.
Yep. No, that's that. She nailed it. I love the Diane Keaton. She plays that character. I guess like the head of the household character.
Matriarch.
Yeah, the matriarch character. She plays that great. And the breast cancer survivor and the recurrence of that, like, I think that hits home with a lot of people. And it is just, especially around Christmas time. And it just really, makes you think about how others may be coping around this time of year. When you may have it really good. So just to me, it's a good kind of like reset of your mind kind of story. Just put you in a good feels, and then you walk away with kind of thinking about others.
Great, James.
I've not seen this movie, so I don't know how much to add to it.
Yeah, kind of same. I also haven't seen this one, but I kind of want to check it out. I really do like Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
I saw this one once in college. It was definitely effective because I do remember crying during it. I haven't come back to it though, because like I said earlier, I tend not to gravitate as much towards rom-coms, but also the ending's a little sad, and so just during Christmas time I tend not to actually. Normally I am a big fan of sad movies, but during Christmas time I think I tend towards the happier movies.
Yeah, you couldn't even finish Banshees of Inisherin, so.
Oh yeah. When he started cutting.
Yeah, don't spoil the movie.
There's a point where I was like, this isn't. I don't want to go here.
I get it, but it's a great movie. All right, so what do we do? Moving on to?
Okay, we are moving on to Home Alone 2, starting with Kevin.
Yes.
This was I kind of struggled, and I know maybe people will not. They'll be like, "Why did you struggle between 1 and 2?" Lillian even likes 3. We watch all 3 of them every year. But 2 has really just grown on me in the last few years. I think the overall story makes a little more sense. As far as how the Sticky Bandits got out of jail, that's a little sticky. I don't, whatever. But I just like the fact that he just wasn't totally forgotten. But anyway, to the story, it's it's just one of those that I was always since my name is Kevin, I was always related to these stories. Shocker. So yeah, I was always related to these when I was younger. So I did watch them frequently. And I do like I just love like the banter back and forth. Especially this one, like it brings in Tim Curry, and, Rob Schneider. So it's just like I don't know, like this one is just a little bit of a step up to me. Catherine O'Hara, like I love her as his mom, but yeah, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern as Harry and Marv, I love them as the thieves. But yeah, man, the Home Alone 2 is awesome. I love both, like the original, but I'm gonna go with number 2 as my number 3.
Perfect. Just quick question: has Lillian ever gone on vacation, forgot you, and then had to go, Kevin?
I mean, I do have to chase her around the airport. That is
okay.
Always up. So I'm shocked it hasn't happened yet. But
I will say though, when I do kind of call his name when he's upstairs and I'm downstairs, it sounds just like that.
James.
Yeah, I like the Home Alone 2. It's a great sequel. I like the setting change in the hotel. It gives it kind of like the new kind of take on it. So it's not like just exactly a rehash of the first one. So I love watching Home Alone 2. I put the original one, I guess, just because of the original one on the Christmas movies. Because obviously that one was first, of course. So I remember liking that one more, kind of gravitating towards it more. But I like Home Alone 2 as a sequel. It's definitely a great Christmas movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2 are both like they're both up there for me, like nostalgia. Because I mean, I was a little kid when I watched both of these, so I didn't sit there and go like, "Well, this one's just a retread of the original movie." It kind of is, but like it's also does have like new stuff in it too that you can also really like. It's not boring; it's really fun. It also goes like really over the top. Like I think the original movie, like you can, like I know that like you can go like, well, they would have died with those traps, but you know, you can kind of, like
Marv gets hit like 5 consecutive bricks.
I feel like with the first movie, you can kind of like suspense of disbelief, but not with the second movie because like Marv actually turns into a skeleton at one point. It's not like really that you could actually like disbelieve it. It's silly, but I love it. Exactly what Kevin said. I love all the Tim Curry stuff. He's perfect in this. It forgives the fact that Donald Trump is in the movie, and actually that's one of my favorite bits is the whole part where he's constantly trying to catch Kevin at his game or whatever, and when they go up and they're all like, he does the whole duping with the Angels with Filthy Souls thing, or with even filthier souls. And he plays the movie, and then it's like, you Mo with the gimpy leg and stuff like that, and it turns into what's the guy's name? It's like it's like the guy that works there, and it's like he's like
there's like an old man standing there, and he's like,
I never did, or something like that, and it's just like really really funny. That bit, I totally owned a Talk Boy, by the way. And I love how he uses the Talk Boy and stuff like that. It's such a Kevin thing to do.
Yeah, for real.
So iconic. It's like one of those things to where like, say what you want to say about like either of those movies. You love them, you hate them. You think the first one's better. You love the second one more. And you're like, actually, I like the second one more. Whatever. They're both great for their own reasons. And there's never a time that I don't love watching Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. It's perfect.
Yeah, this one is really, really good. I prefer the first one just a little bit more just because I think the storyline with the old man is a little bit better done in the original than
Old Man Marley.
Yeah, than the storyline with the woman.
Pigeon lady.
Yeah, the pigeon lady. But overall, it's so fun. It's one that I'll never say no to throwing on. I think, like you guys said, Tim Curry is really great in this movie.
They do a good job of making like New York scary as hell. Like the
But
cab
also,
driver.
it's
and
just,
he's
I
like,
think it's just
"Hey."
so fun. Like he's staying in, especially at that time, like the nicest hotel in New York, like one of the most famous,
Plaza.
the Plaza. That's where my parents stayed for one night for their
Wow.
honeymoon, and they said their room was like all they could afford was like just a little
Oh
tiny like
my God.
closet
He had
size
this
room.
huge.
Yeah,
He had like
ice cream
sweet.
and like it's great.
He like goes in and when he's leaving, he's like taking all the cookies and everything.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like all your wish fulfillment as a kid. Like he gets
No kidding.
And like John Mulaney has the epic bit where he's like, he's like, I want Tomlin 2 lots in New York. It was like a stretch limousine with the cheese pizza. This is the height of luxury.
Truly, when you're a child, it is.
Yeah. Lillian.
Definitely top 20 for sure. Both of the 1 and 2. Like Kevin said, I actually like 3, and the only reason why I like 3 is because Alex actually gets credit for the good job that he does, and not only his family but his entire neighborhood like knows what he did. Also, he's kind of an inventor that is an inventor all year long, not just during Christmas, coming up with his favorite things. But talking about the New York one, I actually like the pigeon lady story. I like the interaction, even though the Marley story for the old man in 1 is definitely kind-hearted. I like the interaction between Kevin and I don't even know. Does she ever say her name?
I don't think so.
I don't think she ever says her name, but definitely top 20 for sure.
What's next?
So next we have A Christmas Story, and James will start us off.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, this one is probably one of like my favorite ones. It might be a little cheesy to say it. I know it's like a classic movie that most people will watch every year. But I just love how like the story told. I love the acting. I love like the kids' interactions with each other when they're trying to get a puff winter coat on the one little kid, and he put his arms down, and I like how he stands up to that bully eventually. I love like the fragile, like I think it's Italian, it's fragile. There's so much of this is great when they end up eating the like the Christmas duck at the end. I love like his first, saying his first curse word is like, "Oh, fudge!" Like just so much of this movie is so memorable, and I love watching this every year. It's just a great Christmas movie. I love this one.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I didn't have it on my list. This one I kind of teeter with. I grew up with it, obviously 1983. Bob Clark movie, which is interesting because he did Black Christmas.
Yep.
And there's some times that I'm sitting there like watching A Christmas Story, and I'm like, okay, some of this is kind of scary, like with the robbers in the backyard. And then also like with Scud Farkas or whatever, he's not hilarious. He's scary as hell. The way he laughs and stuff like that. Yeah, this one I feel like is one where they've kind of dubbed it as the Christmas season as the Christmas movie. I don't know if I agree necessarily. I think it's a very good movie, but I think it's like a very like of its time kind of like, I hate to say it, but boomer movie. Like it's one where it would probably like take someone like much older to remind them of their childhood, but I think it's kind of like a little bit more removed from like someone like of today, and someone even younger than me. I can probably see like them like, why is this movie like that's played on TBS like all day, the best one or whatever. There is a lot of fun moments and stuff like that, but for me, I'm like it's like so overplayed. It's so of its time. And then also, because we just watched it again, because that's not a staple for us like every year, but I watched it again. I really liked it again. There's so many moments like the tongue on the pole and stuff like that. But I'm so glad that they released, so I don't think anyone has this on their list, the sequel, A Christmas Story Christmas, because I like that a little more. I think I think Peter Billingsley is excellent in that one, and with his own family after the fact. And I just love how sweet it is. So, yeah, but it is definitely a great one. Kerri.
Yeah, so this is the first year actually that I've sat down and watched the whole movie. We actually did pause it like for a day in between, but sat down and watched the whole movie from start to finish. I'd always just seen pieces of it on TBS while we waited for like another Christmas movie to start on another channel, or like someone had it on, in the background or something. And I really enjoyed it. I think there's so many quotable parts of this movie. It's really just a classic.
Yeah, the bits where he's just imagining what his life would be like in the scenario. They do that really well in the sequel, and it had me cracking up.
And I like
so
their
much.
Christmas dinner at the Chinese food restaurant. Like,
no, it's fa la 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 la.
I love like when they bring out the duck with like the next one.
Oh, that creeps me out. That part. Lillian.
I was gonna say exactly what Kerri said about not watching it from start to finish. Growing up, it was always on TV, like Chad said. But I would watch like in the middle, and then watch the end, and then watch the beginning, and then watch the end again, and then watch the middle again, and it was never like start to finish. I did watch it start to finish a couple years ago, and I have it as number 6 on my list. It's definitely a classic. There's not much other to say than you guys have already said. It's a Christmas staple, but yeah, I get that it's a boomer movie. I agree with that statement, because they will always say, it's top 3 on their list, right? But millennials and later usually have it, later or further down the list. It's a great movie. It's about mid-tier for me.
Yeah, well, maybe James is a boomer. I gotta okay, but Kevin.
I guess I'm younger than I thought, because it's not on my list. It is probably like it's in between like 11 and 20, somewhere for sure. Like I love the vignettes and just the stuff you remember, the carbine, red action, a red rifle, whatever it was, the things you remember, the Santa, you'll shoot your eye out with that thing, and the leg lamp. I mean, like, it's just, there are things that just stick out in your mind, and when you think of Christmas movies, and if that's not one of them, then you're not thinking of the right Christmas movie. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely, I guess it does. It is a boomer movie, and they played the shit out of it. So, we've seen it so much, but as far as I haven't seen it like start to finish in a while, so I need to rewatch it, I guess, to get it back up a little higher on the list.
Great. What's next?
Okay, so next is you had Die Hard. You start.
Of course I did. Die Hard, it's one of those, it's the age-old debate like every single year about if you think this one is a Christmas movie or not. And, I get it for people who just can't like see it, but for me, it's totally a Christmas movie. It's like the Christmas movie in some ways, where it's, it's all about John McClane trying to reunite with his family. And he's just kind of like lost way because, she had a job elsewhere, and then he had stuff at his job that he didn't want to let go. And so he goes, this Christmas party to try to reconnect. She's using her maiden name, which actually, the writing in this movie is freaking perfect because, that plays into later about actually like probably saving her life and stuff like that she actually didn't connect with his name. And then at the very end, they asked, your name's Gennaro, whatever. She's like, I'm McClane. It's McClane, and stuff. And so like you get to see them like actually coming together and just being a family again. I love that so much. And it's just like every like kind of like beat in this movie just has something Christmas in it with the ho ho ho. Now I have a machine gun ho ho ho. The unconventional kind of like hip hop Christmas music that they play. Like this is Christmas music. But just as a movie, it's just like probably the greatest action film ever made. It's like definitely up there. If it's not it's like top 5. Because it's perfectly written. The action, the sound design is incredible. people at the time before this didn't think Bruce Willis could be an action star, and it's kind of like the perfect one. Now everybody's like, this is Die Hard on a plane. This is Die Hard on a, whatever. Like people just refer to something else as Die Hard, even like the new Violent Night that I don't think anybody has on the list that I really loved is like, that's kind of Die Hard with Santa Claus, it's just it's perfect in like so many ways that I could just keep going on and on about this movie. I love this. This is my number 3, and it doesn't have snow at the end, but it has papers falling at the end to kind of mimic snow with the song Let It Snow. And I just love how they use their unique California type of things, and there's so many great like iconic lines and stuff in it, like no fucking shit, lady, it sound like I'm ordering a pizza.
Yeah, this was my number 10. I really, really love this movie, and we do tend to watch it during Christmas time, just because the setting is Christmas. They do incorporate a lot of Christmas into the movie, but overall, it's just a fantastic movie. Like, I love Alan Rickman in this. Like, he just makes an amazing.
How did I not even mention Alan Rickman?
Amazing villain. It's just very much like classic action movie.
Yeah, and it was his first role, and he's fantastic in it.
Yeah, his first movie role. Yeah,
it was his first movie. Yeah, and then even Al in the movie, he's such a great character.
Yeah.
I love how they do the police stuff, and it's like what's right and what's not right to do with like police and whatnot too.
Yeah.
So, Lillian?
I love the movie for sure. I'm not going to get in the debate on if it's a Christmas movie or not, because I don't care enough about to argue way or either positive or negative on that point. But I do recognize that there is a lot of Christmas elements in the movie for sure. But I just personally wouldn't watch it as a Christmas movie. It's just an action movie that happens during Christmas. So I would watch it anytime, not just.
You can, yeah.
So, but yeah, solid movie.
Yeah, you can watch it every year or any time of the year, but I have to watch it every Christmas. I think. Kevin.
No, I've been in the fan leagues now, or whatever you want to call it, the online trivia community for a little over 3 years now, and I said I would die on this hill that Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. I argued, and I like Lillian, and I am just gonna give up, but concede my argument, but. It's just a great film. Like, there's no reason to argue. Like, same with like Batman Returns, or there are many others. But anyway, like, it's just a matter of how you analyze it thematically and things like that. And apparently, John McTiernan said that it is intended to be a Christmas film.
And then Bruce Willis said it's not. So
there you go. Okay. Well, see, I guess you're gonna always get those kind of things, but I love this movie no matter what. Like you said, Kerri, it is probably besides a Harry Potter film, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Alan Rickman portrayal. Yeah, a film. But just, this one is one I can just put on any time and love it. But yeah, I mean, I do see where the elements come from that are considered to be Christmas. So
definitely, James.
Yeah, I definitely love it. It's great all around. I like pretty much every part of it. I love like the dialogue, I love the exchanges. I am in that group of people who thinks it is not a Christmas movie. So, and for the reasons that folks mentioned, I know Lillian said like you can watch any time of year, and I agree with that. I can watch Die Hard pretty much whenever and not be like, oh, it's a Christmas movie, why am I watching this in like April or whenever? So I always love this movie. It's one I watch, like I said, pretty much whenever. Like the whole yippee-ki-yay motherfucker thing is a great line, although a lot of people think he says it and then shoots him, but he doesn't. He just says yippee-ki-yay motherfucker as he's leaving one of the rooms. So
and then Han says it later. So
and then like shoot the glass when they break all the windows with the guns. He has to run across the floor, like just bits like that. To me, it's like a tower assault movie with Christmas elements. So I get how people call it a Christmas movie, but I believe it's not one. But I think we all agree we're not going to get into that. So, but yeah, but again, awesome movie, great. Can't say good things about it. It's an awesome movie all around, though.
Totally fair. No matter what side you're on, as long as you love the movie, because it's phenomenal. What's next?
Okay, so next is It's a Wonderful Life, and I'll start off with that one.
I have it higher. Should I say that, or
should we wait for it, or should
it's up to you guys?
We can talk about it now, but Kevin can start.
Okay, yeah, Kevin, you go ahead.
Okay. This is actually my number one film.
Yeah.
So yeah. This one is one that I think is actually probably a perfect film. I've been watching this one since I was a kid with my grandparents. They love this Frank Capra film. So Jimmy Stewart is in it, but so George Bailey, the George Bailey story, I've always loved. It actually reminds me of my grandpa. Like, he was deaf in one ear, and there's just like the story of how his brother, is he saves his brother. My grandpa was in the Navy on Christmas Eve. That they welcome back Kerri, who's a Navy fighter pilot. So there's just a lot of things in this that kind of like are strictly for me. They touch my soul, like heart and soul or whatever. But also there's just the James Stewart, Donna Reed. I mean, you can read down the list of names. It's just an incredible cast. Yeah, and doing a great job. I love the story. It's just, at the end of the story, it's I love the angel Clarence. It's just a great story. So yeah.
Perfect, James.
I actually have not seen It's a Wonderful Life, so this is one of those classics that I need to get on. So I don't have much to add to this part.
I wish I had $1 million. Hot dog. No, I could quote this a lot. Yeah, this is one I actually did come to a little bit later, but then I fell in love with it. I would actually kind of say this has less in some ways has less to do with Christmas than Die Hard does.
Sure.
It kind of does. If you think about a lot of it, like only towards the end does it really have anything to do with Christmas, but it's a fantastic movie. I think it deserved to have won the Best Picture that year. It did not win. I think it's better than Best Years of Our Lives, even though that's a really great movie as well. But yeah, this is a perfect movie. I love this one. George Bailey, James Stewart as George Bailey is phenomenal. I love how he gets, love and hate, how he gets broken down so much just to like kind of learn what the actual spirit of Christmas is, but also spirit of like family and just like, kind of appreciating what you have and just like also seeing just how, even though he didn't get to do the stuff that he always wanted to do, he still, touched so many people's lives just by being the great person that he actually is, and giving up the things that he wanted in life to give to other people, the spirit of giving. That he's changed so many lives. And then when Clarence, a great angel name in Supernatural, that's what they call Castiel all the time. Clarence. When he just shows him like what life would be like without him, it's the last like kind of 20 minutes of the movie. You think it'd be a bigger portion of it. But a lot of it is just like George Bailey's life in like little ways. He's given up things that he always wanted to do. And he's like, say, brainless, don't you know where coconuts come from? And I love the scene between him and the pharmacist when, he's like, it's like, I know you're in pain. I know you're missing your son, but you're doing the wrong thing. And I don't know. It just shows just like what good of a person George Bailey was as a kid and just like grows to be and just, slowly get broken down and yelling at his family. And then you just, it's such a perfect movie. We could just sit here and like talk about it, because it's so great. And Mr. Potter's despicable. Go ahead, Kerri.
Yeah, this was my number 3, and it's really only beaten out because I have 2 that I love from growing up when I was a kid. But like you guys said, it's a perfect movie, and I think just like it really encapsulates like kind of what the spirit of Christmas is about. Like when people talk about the spirit of Christmas, and it just never fails. I didn't actually make it to the end this year because I fell asleep, but
Shame.
it does every year when they
Evil.
start. Everyone, gives the money to George Bailey, and they start singing "Old Lang Syne." It makes me cry every year.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's a great part.
Lillian.
There's not much I can add to it being so perfect in the spirit of Christmas and morals and right and wrong and stuff like that. The only thing I will add is that this was number 2 on my list.
Love it.
Nice.
And the only reason why it's not number 1, Kevin, is just because, like Chad said, it's not as Christmassy as other movies are, but I think it's a Christmas movie because of the message that it sends. It also talks about, or kind of like, I don't want to say talks about, but kind of like shows how important mental health is, and the mental health of a man, which is something that is not normally publicized. Where men are told to be strong and manly and tough and deal with it and pull up your bootstraps or whatever. But I feel like this movie kind of shows that it's okay to not be okay, and what values you need to lean on to be able to
Definitely.
and move forward. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Kerri, what is the next?
I still believe that every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Hold on, because I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, because we started. Okay, so we're gonna do our number 2, starting with Kevin.
Okay.
My number 2 is Klaus.
Yes. James.
I put Arthur Christmas at number 2.
Yeah. My number 2 is Home Alone. Kerri?
My number 2 is that's wrong. Sorry. Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. It's White Christmas.
Perfect. Lillian.
And I had It's a Wonderful Life.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Okay.
So we'll start with Kevin with Klaus.
Perfect. Kevin.
Yeah. Klaus is a newer film, obviously 2019, and it was Sergio Pablos' directorial debut. Fantastic job, fantastic voice casting. Jason Schwartzman is a postman. J.K. Simmons is Klaus or Santa Claus. Rashida Jones, Will Sasso, Sergio Pablos himself is in there. Norm Macdonald, rest in peace. But yeah, just a fantastic voice casting. I'd say a near perfect movie. I love the animation style. It's like an old school animation style. And I just love the story it tells. It's an old style story where the Jasper, the postman, has to is focused on him, and he has to be convinced that that he is the real Santa or whatever. So it's just a great story, and I think it's a great voice cast and everything like that. So that's why I picked it for number 2.
Perfect. James?
I have not seen Klaus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Klaus is great. It's one of those, it's a newer one that was just like such a surprise. Like I do love the animation style, to show that kind of like, the whole 2D animation's not dead, kind of a deal. And yeah, it's a different kind of story. I love kind of like the feuding towns as it gets like into some really great comedy, but then it also gets really deep. So it's funny but deep, and the whole figure of Klaus, just being like this kind of tortured soul. He had so much loss, and then he learns to, or not learned, but like, I guess kind of learns to, the spirit of giving. Like he has like those toys just kind of sitting there, and then he decides to go on and Jesper kind of becomes like his like little elf helper guy, and it's just like really really cool that way. The music's great. I love like the pop music that they play is such a fun time, and even like just the fun music that they play too, like was forget the one song that they play where he's like, and he's just like walking like, just to get silly at times, but it's really fun. I really like this one. It's very heartfelt.
Yeah, I really love this one too. It didn't make it into my top 10, but I think it's probably at least in my top 20. I think it's just a fantastic movie, and it's made its way into our annual Christmas rotation. Just very, very sweet. Like the animation is gorgeous too.
Definitely. Lillian?
Very cute movie. Watched it for the first time and only time. Kevin showed it to me. Very enjoyable. I just, I don't have a lot to talk about it because I just haven't seen it enough to really fall in love with it.
Definitely. What are you moving on to?
Okay, so now we are moving on to Arthur Christmas, and we'll start with James.
All right.
Yeah, this one kind of took me by surprise. I know, like, I usually don't gravitate towards some of the more like animated movies, like kind of geared toward kids. This turned out to be really, really good. Actually, I liked. It was like all the presents are getting through the sort facility, but the one bike, fall between the cracks, have to go deliver it overnight. I love how we kind of teams up with like the Grandpa Santa, which again, maybe this is why it's up here, but this has a little bit of boomer humor in it too. With old Grandpa Santa being like, "Oh, that was back before women could read, or back before we taught women to read, or something like that," or talking about flying over like the world, like during World War One, World War Two, something like that. I can't remember, but I just liked the comedic bits. Like you got James McAvoy as the voice actor, and I think it's Hugh Laurie plays his brother. Yeah. I just love that kind of mashup too. I like how they deliver it, like to the town, like the way that all that was kind of illustrated and drawn out was really cool. It just took me by surprise, and I love this movie. I'll definitely watch it every year.
Yeah, I really adore Arthur Christmas. This was on my list. What did I do? I changed it to 8, right? Because I wanted the Santa Claus to be higher. But yeah, I adore both. This one is a little newer, but I think it's like really fantastic. In some ways, the animation doesn't super hold up like all the time, but like I love Aardman animation style. And like just their the way they tell stories, I just think is fantastic. They do like the Wallace and Gromit and Shaun the Sheep and stuff like that, Chicken Run. So I really adore this one just because it's just such a beautiful story of, kind of like the Santas are kind of like jaded and they don't really super care all that much in this. Especially like the big brother who's like next in line to be. He's like very commercialized, got like a Bluetooth headset and stuff, and he's like very official with the Santa business, and Arthur's the one that cares. He cares so much that he's like, wait, what? One person didn't get their present? We have to wake everyone up. This is a big deal. And then they're like, this is not a big deal. Like, just one person. Who cares? We have so many people. And he's like, no, every kid is special. That's the kind of thing that like, a Mr. Rogers would tell you, speaking of boomer stuff. I think that's such an important message that we don't always get in every single Christmas movie. It's just something very unique about this one. It's just I keep wanting to return to this one because it's very fun. It's funny, like with the old grandpa is really, really funny. And I like how they have to take the old sleigh that they had in like storage or whatever, because they had like the new and improved one, but it's like, maybe not the most improved. I don't know. It's just like one of those things. And just like even some of the animation style, like I know I knocked on it, but like some of the sequences are pretty fantastic. Like, him having to catch the sleigh that's circling the globe and stuff is really excellent. And then the one elf who's like a professional gift wrapper, like wrapping the bike mid ride is just excellent.
Oh yeah.
And I just adore this movie. So perfect. Kerri?
Yeah, I really like this one. Again, it's one that didn't crack my top 10, but probably is in my top 20. It's one that I think we may not have watched it last year, or maybe we did. We've either been watching it every year, or every other year since it came out. But it is really just a very, very sweet story. Like, this is a fantastic movie.
Great. Lillian?
I have the same answer from the previous movie as I have only watched it once because Kevin showed me. Very cute, very enjoyable to watch, but I don't have a lot of input on it.
Nice. Kevin?
I love this cast. Bill Nye, Jim Broadbent, Imelda Staunton. There's
It's a Harry Potter cast.
Robbie Coltrane. Yeah, exactly. This is a Harry Potter film. No, I love, like you said, I love the Aardman, like how they do their stories and their animation. And this one was like, it was either going to be this one or Nightmare Before Christmas. So I had to kind of juggle those. But so I went with Nightmare, but Arthur Christmas is one of those that I really have come to love in the past since it came out, I guess.
Perfect. What are we moving on to?
So now we are doing Home Alone.
And I start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Home Alone is one of my favorite movies. It's such a weird movie. Like the way it like came about, it was like this kind of weird, like almost independent film. It's like the way they crafted it was just, but like they put so much care into it, but then it's like it was elevated because John Williams did the score, made it something special, and then it became one of like the biggest like blockbuster like box office successes like of all time. And it's like it's hard to believe that happened, but yeah, Macaulay Culkin became like one of the biggest stars on the planet. He doesn't have a normal life because of this movie, but it's okay because it's phenomenal. And I don't know. I adore this movie. Ever since I was a kid, I just would rewatch this one over and over and over every single Christmas. And it's just a special little movie about a kid being left at home. He kind of is estranged from his family a little bit because they had an argument, and he wishes they didn't exist. And then he kind of thinks that they made my family disappear.
That's great when he thinks. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to break in, but
okay.
That was great. That moment when he's thinking that he really made that happen.
He's like, he's like scared about it at first and surprised, and then he's like, I made my family disappear. Him watching the Angels with Filthy Souls, ordering pizza, going to the supermarket by himself, asking if the toothbrush is approved by the dental association, running from the cops and going, I'm a criminal. And then, setting up all the traps because he's like, I have to defend myself. It's my house. I have to defend it. When he busts out them schematics and just starts like, doing all this stuff, he's like a brilliant little kid. And I don't know, it's just a really fun movie. Like when it gets into those sequences, because Pesci and Stern are amazing, iconic as the wet bandits and then the sticky bandits. And it's just perfect. The dialogue, I love how they set up everything. Like earlier in the movie, they set up the whole thing about, Kevin attacking his brother for eating their last piece of cheese pizza. And that's how his like ticket gets thrown in the trash. And, how they set it up where he's not, they count him, but he's still not there because asking all the questions. And then the stuff about just all the characters. Frank's kind of a freeloading piece of shit. On the plane, it's like, if it makes you feel any better, I left my something at home. My glasses, my reading glasses. It's like, you freaking asshole. Like, and Yeah, I don't know, it's just a perfect movie. Another one I can go on and on about because I adore it. It's my number 2. Kerri.
Yeah, I love this movie. I didn't actually watch it as a kid. I think I definitely didn't watch it until I met Chad. I can't remember when we first watched it together. But it's one that's become like a must watch every year. It just didn't quite crack my top 10, but it was really close. It's adorable. It's fantastic, and it has so many funny, fantastic parts.
Definitely a must watch for the holidays. Didn't make my top 10, but I know we've talked about Home Alone a few times going around the circle. But the only thing I remember from watching it originally, like the first time, was what the heck do the parents do for a living to have that many kids to take their entire family out to live in that crazy house? What do they do?
It's funny that they never really explain.
Well, it is like Chicago though, and that's like one of the wealthiest.
True.
Like, so I guess yeah. What do they do?
And then we just need to know how many poinsettias are actually in that house.
Oh my god!
And how I like, and the money just screams. Like he's got the M like now burned into his thing for McAllister. Like, who thinks to put an M on your doorknob? Only the rich do.
No. Kevin.
This is like I was the one with Home Alone 2 just a few movies ago, or a few numbers ago. But no, number 1 is obviously the original, the OG. Chris Columbus and John Hughes did a great job combining on this one, and the music is iconic. I mean, I even was like humming that theme that exactly what I'm talking about. And she was like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing that?" But it was because we had just watched it like a couple days before. But yeah, no, John Williams does so great on this, and it's just great. Like the whole plot. It's just so like you have to suspend disbelief, obviously, but when you do, it puts it perfect. Like you said, like him going to the store, the is this ADA approved? That kind of stuff is hilarious to me. But yeah, like the stuff with the Wet Bandits is awesome because I mean he just owns them, and I love the story eventually with the what was his name?
Marley.
Yeah, Old Man Marley, right? The what was his name? The something Salt, man.
The
sidewalk Salt something.
To be honest,
he has like another a name that they try to scare Kevin with, but
Sidewalk Slayer.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's the city, and it's it's alliteration.
It's something. It's somewhere.
Victims and the mummies.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's where he keeps his victims. That's right. In that bin of salt. No, but that man being very nice and like talking to him at the church like that, I think that's a really cool scene. And it is a cool movie, and the way they did it I think is awesome. But I think the second one just maybe edges it out a little bit. But
yeah, and the fact that the whole Old Man Marley thing, it's like an arc for Kevin and an arc for Old Man Marley because he reconvenes with his family, and it's so sweet.
Yeah, that is the sweet.
Oh, and the John Williams music. When you watch Harry Potter and you watch Home Alone,
I told her the same thing when we were watching. I was like, "Tell me this doesn't sound like the beginning of a Harry Potter film."
Exactly, and they're both amazing scores. James.
Yeah, I love this movie. I'll watch it pretty much every year. It's a great Christmas movie. It's pretty much summed up what I think about it too, and how much I like it. I'm not going to add too much else because there's just too many good things to say about this movie. But I had number 10 on my list.
Perfect. Kerri, what are we doing next?
Okay, we're doing White Christmas next.
Great, and you're starting.
Yeah, I'll start. I'm assuming the only one who has this on my list. But So this movie is one that my mom it was her favorite Christmas movie, and so she would make us watch it every year. And same because when I was a kid, it is like a 2 to 3 hour movie and like not the most kid friendly. But now I absolutely adore it as an adult, and like every like scene is just like totally burned into my memory. So it just is like the ultimate nostalgia to watch this movie. I love all the songs. I think it's just like a very fun, sweet story. Like it's a very classic, like, you know, kind of like misunderstandings and rom-com setup. But it was like, I don't know, like probably one of among the first group of movies to do some of these setups. So I don't know. I just love it. It's a classic.
Yeah, it's great. I love that you love it. Lillian.
I have no input. I have not seen that one, but apparently I should.
Yeah. I was just telling her if she hasn't seen this one, she definitely should. I'm a big fan of White Christmas. I like obviously the singing. Bing Crosby does a great job in conjunction with Danny Kaye. But yeah, it's a great story. Not just that one song. There's more to it than that. There's a story, you know, that at the height of World War II. So yeah, it's a World War II timed story, and definitely a good feeling Christmas story. So good pick, Kerri.
Thanks.
Definitely. James?
I actually also have not seen White Christmas, so it's one I got to put on my list for sure.
Nice. Yeah, this one I've only seen because of Kerri, actually. It's one of those. But like, it's one where I didn't really. We tried to watch it and I couldn't get into it, and then I watched it and I didn't love it, and then now I watched it. I still don't love it, but I like it. It is one that's like, you know, I don't know. I don't really love the characters all that much, but I think the story is interesting. I love the whole thing where they're doing like for their sergeant or whatever in
Yeah, I love that.
military. That's such a sweet kind of thing that they just, you know, we love him stuff. And yeah, the music's really great. You know, I don't know about Bing Crosby as a person. It's another one of those kind of things.
Oh, true. Yeah, I didn't say that.
Singing in the movie is always really great. Like anytime he shows up and singing, especially that's White Christmas is an iconic song in itself. The dancing's pretty incredible. You know, some of them I really enjoy. But you know, I think also sometimes I'm like, you know, I think the dancing's a little too much. I'm like, you know, get back to the story kind of a deal, because they really do those sequences. It's almost like when you're watching Singing in the Rain and you're like, why did they have like a 20-minute?
Yes,
like,
I will say
sequence?
if you've seen Singing in the Rain and you haven't seen White Christmas, you'd probably enjoy, and you like Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, for sure.
Enjoy White Christmas. It's like very much that classic musical.
Yeah,
like 50s musical.
I really agree with that. And yeah, it's just a really good Christmas movie that I like.
Cool. Okay, so we go to our number ones, and we'll start with James.
All right, I went and did this, and I put Elf at number one.
James, that's fucking weird. I don't know why. Elf is also my number one. Kerri.
My number one is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Lillian.
I told you I would have an unpopular opinion not liking Elf. Mine is actually The Holiday.
Ooh, Kevin.
Mine was already talked about. It's a Wonderful Life.
Perfect. That's right. All right. So what are we doing
so
here?
We'll start with Elf, and James can start. Yeah.
I mean, when this came out, I mean, I remembered every bit of it since then. I can probably quote most of the movie. I love, like, the casting is just so good. I mean, I like Will Ferrell, so I like his movies, and this makes me appreciate this movie more. I love, you know, Peter Dinklage scene is hilarious. They get Andy Richter, one of the smaller characters. I love so much of this movie. I love the itself is pretty good too. Like, you know, they actually try to see if he's his son or not, and he is. I think that kind of, not like twist, but an extra bit makes it that much better. But just every scene just has, to me, enough comedy in it that I can appreciate most of this movie. I love pretty much every bit of this movie, so it's definitely number one.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I adore this movie, and it's only like recently where I have heard like unpopular or like opinions that people like actually don't really enjoy this one. But like for me, I think it's maybe it is kind of like a whole if you like Will Ferrell or not kind of a deal because he is such a huge part of the movie. But I think because he did like grow, he did have that whole man child thing that he would bring to a lot of his movies. But I think this one, even though he's very silly in it, he's playing it straight. Like it's not Will Ferrell being like a man child. It's just that, and that's the joke. He's an actual character. Like Buddy the Elf for me is just like one of the greatest like Christmas characters. Because he has that whole thing where he doesn't belong anywhere, so he's trying to find a sense of belonging. And then he finds has a whole arc of actually saving Christmas and being the elf that he was always meant to be. And I love that. I love his relationship with Jovi. I think is very sweet. He gets her courage up so that she can actually sing in front of people where she's like, she has a beautiful voice and, she shows that in like the shower, but she would never actually like sing in front of people. And he's like, it's the best. There's no difference. You can actually, in the best way to spread Christmas cheer for singing loud for all to hear. And the message of, Walter, turning everything around and just he's just focused so much on his job, and he his son's like, my dad's not even that great, he doesn't care about us or anything, and then he learns to say screw you to his boss and just actually go out on his own and write a book and release a book and stuff like that. Yeah, and there's just so much about this movie. My favorite part is when after Walter finally sings and the sleigh lifts up, and then you see Buddy like peering over the back, and he's like fully like realized his arc and stuff, and just it's just such a special, that part just makes me well up with tears. It's just so beautiful, and it's just so funny too. Just Jon Favreau is just a great director. And there's just nothing really like this movie for me. I think it encapsulates everything that you'd want in a fantastic Christmas movie. Funny, poignant, whatever you want to say about it. It's just so good. Yeah, I love it. Kerri.
Okay. Yeah, this is one that I didn't love when it first came out, just because I am not big on like cringe humor. And a lot of this movie is like kind of cringe humor. But I've gotten over that. I think once you watch something a number of times, you kind of get over that factor. Like, what happens at the end and it kind of goes away. So I really love this movie. I love watching it every year. It has some really, really funny parts in it. So yeah.
Perfect. Lillian?
Kerri, thank you for giving me a term to describe why I dislike it. The cringe humor for me is the over-the-top silliness is what I dislike about the movie. Chad, I was listening to your explanation as to why you liked the movie, and I agree with you. Like, the storyline is good, but I feel like the cringiness is what turns me off. Will Ferrell's over the top is just like Bill Murray's over the top in Scrooge, where it hurts me, and I can't watch it. I can't enjoy it. I can't enjoy the story because of it. Doesn't make the plot any not bad. Doesn't make the story bad. Just like Chad said, but I just can't watch it.
Perfect. Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me like 5 to 10 years ago, this would have probably been in the top 3 on my list. Now it hangs in the 11 to 20 area, just because it's just me and like my movie tastes have changed a little bit. I don't find like the I guess like the humor that you guys are talking about, like it just isn't. It doesn't like ring as close to me as it used to. But what the story though is still there, and like when everybody's singing Santa Claus is coming to town and all that, like that still gets you in the feels, and it's still an excellent story from start to finish. Like, I don't, with or without those the comedy that everybody, the questionable comedy, it's a great story, and it's something I enjoy watching. So it's just kind of fallen out of my top 10, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Perfect. What are we on to? The holiday?
No, Rudolph first, and
Okay.
then the holiday.
And you're first with Rudolph?
Yes. Yeah, this was my number one. This has been my favorite Christmas movie since I knew what a movie was. So, I don't know how. I mean, I still rewatch it every single year. There's maybe like a couple of sexist parts, but otherwise, it's just a very sweet story. I love the songs in it. The animation, like, surprisingly, like, holds up for its time, and like it being kind of like that stop motion style. And yeah, I have like so much like Rudolph stuff in my house. My favorite Christmas ornament was as a kid, it was my Rudolph Christmas ornament. So it's just like a nostalgia bomb in like my top 2 movies.
Perfect. Lillian?
Definitely nostalgic, definitely a Christmas staple. Just didn't make my top 10. I would watch it anytime it came on, for sure.
Perfect. Kevin?
I mean, I totally remember like watching the Hermie and the Abominable Snow Monster, but it doesn't make my top 10 just because, like I said, I tried to limit it to one TV special, but Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was on my television every Christmas as a kid. I promise you that. And if I could find it now, I probably would watch it again. So yeah, I'll have to try to find it.
Perfect.
Maybe, it says it's on Freeform. So yeah, actually, I'm gonna probably watch it tonight.
James?
Yeah, I always loved watching this growing up as a kid. This is number 9 on the list, so it definitely is absolutely top 10 worthy. I love so many things about it. I like the snowman. I like it's kind of crazy when he rips the fangs out of the abominable snowman. I was like, that's kind of hardcore. Like that's
Very dark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Watching it now, I'm realized that not when I was a kid so much, but I definitely like watching this. It's one I'll put on every year. I like this one a whole lot.
Yeah, I actually I found this in a Blu-ray set, thankfully, because it is a staple. It's one that I almost feel obligated to watch, but not in a bad way, because I'm like, we have to watch Rudolph. It's Rudolph. I think it is of the Rankin and Bass like specials. It is the one, the most iconic one, the most iconic reindeer, it's really fun animation. You love. The dentist, you love, or the future dentist, I guess. You love the Island of Lost Toys. In some ways, it's a very C.S. Lewis kind of thing there with
Misfit.
and Misfit Toys. Sorry, did I say Lost Toys? I misspoke. Misfit Toys. Yeah, I mean, I can sing all the songs perfect. And yeah, James said that you watch it differently as an adult because it's like really crazy when you're like, what did they do to that creature? Oh my god, like that's insane that they did that. They domesticated him in such a weird way to like be nice, like, well, we're gonna rip out all of his teeth and stuff. But it's kind of a weird moment, but. It's classic. It's like how Rudolph became to lead the sleigh and that whole song and stuff like that. And so many iconic lines. Like my parents used to love saying, like, she thinks I'm cute. Bumbles bounce and all that stuff. So yeah, it's perfect. It definitely had to be on my list because I had to have a Rankin and Bass special, and that's the one. So yeah. What's next? The holiday?
Oh, yes.
All right,
Sorry.
Lillian, the holiday.
So I have to defend mine a little bit because I have it as number 1, not necessarily because I think it's the best holiday movie ever. There are definitely better movies story-wise and performance-wise and just all over acclaim-wise, right? But I chose it as number one because it's my personal preference, my thought process on what I think a holiday movie should include. But it's also funny, heartwarming. I like the holiday house swap idea. I definitely wouldn't trust anyone to do that with my house. And I love
too much.
I love Jack Black and Kate Winslet as a couple. I think it's an odd pairing, but it's definitely cute. And then I actually just learned that Dustin Hoffman actually wasn't cast in the movie. He just happened to be having lunch nearby and saw the movie, and like they put him in the movie in that scene where they're talking about the graduate score.
All right.
He's just wearing what he was wearing that day. No makeup, no nothing. And he just makes a comment and he's in the movie, and I think that's cool.
It is, yeah. Kevin?
Another like emotional movie that like really gets you, like draws you in and makes you all like teary-eyed. But yeah, I mean, it's a Nancy Meyers flick, so you know what you're gonna get pretty much. But it is a great one. I am not the biggest Jack Black fan, so that is one of my caveats about this film. But I do like the film, and it doesn't make my top 10.
Nice. James?
I haven't seen this movie, so I don't have much for this part.
Yeah, I was actually almost in the same boat, but I watched it last year, and I really liked it. I was like, this is kind of an underrated movie here. And I think it was Jack Black that was the one that wanted me to that made me want to watch it, because I like Jack Black a lot. It's kind of a different role for him, like a romantic comedy that you don't normally see. But yeah, I loved everyone else in the movie. I specifically loved Jude Law's character and like his whole kind of like sweet thing. Like he's the one with the kids and stuff, right? Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
With Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
That's and like both kind of sides are very like sweet stories too, and I love the way they kind of like both fall in love and things like that. And it's just a very sweet movie. I mean, it's called The Holiday, so it's a Christmas movie, but like it's, for me, like I wouldn't put it up there as like one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies, but it's one that I would not hate to return to because I really enjoyed it when I didn't know if I would. And I was like, this is a pretty sweet ass movie. I like this one a lot. So,
having seen this only once, and for the first time last year, that was fairly recent. It's really a sweet movie. I think it definitely should go kind of more into our Christmas rotation. We didn't get a chance to get to it this year, but I love like all the four main actors. Like I think they're like really, really well cast, and it's just an awesome movie. It was a good pick.
Definitely. Is that it?
I think that's it, right?
Oh,
that's it.
Well,
shoot.
I have a ranking somewhat. It's kind of a mix because, right, like some of us we're the only ones who put a movie on our list.
This is the kind of like first kind of thing we're doing something like this. I feel like a top 10 type of thing, and it did go a little longer than I thought it might go, but that's okay because we talked about a lot of really great Christmas films. So what is the ultimate? ranking?
So kind of how I did this was we kind of grouped stuff into, if it was just on one person's list, it's going to be at the bottom. If it was on two people's lists, those movies are all together. On three people's list, those are all together. And then we only had one movie that was on four people's list, so that came out on top. And then otherwise we ranked it within those by how high people had it ranked on their own personal list. So it comes out a little weird overall, but I think this was just great to talk about all of our favorite Christmas movies. So overall, we had 30 movies combined.
Wow.
But with ties accounted for, we have a top 20. Okay. So tied at number 20 are Fat Man and Bad Santa. At number 19, Holiday in Handcuffs. At number 18, Scrooged and Spirited. At number 17, The Apartment. At number 16, The Christmas Carol, 1951. At number 15, tied are the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas Special and Just Friends. At number 14, tied are The Family Stone and Home Alone 2. Tied for number 13 are Klaus and White Christmas. At number 12 is The Holiday. Those were all our movies that were only on one person's list. So moving on to our movies that were on two people's lists. At number 11, we have The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And this is the top 10.
Yes. In our top 10, at 10, we have The Muppet Christmas Carol. At 9, we have tied both versions of How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Okay.
The math worked out.
Wow.
It's
Nice.
kind of crazy. A three-way tie for number 8 is A Charlie Brown Christmas, Die Hard, and Love Actually.
Wow.
Tied for number 7 are Home Alone and The Santa Claus. At number 6 is Arthur Christmas. Tied for number 5 are A Christmas Story and Miracle on 34th Street. At number 4 is Elf. And then starting with our top 3, there were 2 movies that were on 3 people's lists. And so at number 3, we have Christmas Vacation. At number 2, we have Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And our number 1 was the only one on 4 people's lists, and that is It's a Wonderful Life.
Wow. I didn't know what to expect with like doing it that way. I think it worked out very well. Thank you so much for doing that math because that sounded hard. Kerri is very good at doing the numbers game with this show, so I appreciate her every single time. And when she almost didn't do it, I would not have done that good of a job. So I'm glad she was here. But yeah, thank you everybody for being on this show. We talked about what Christmas means to us. We ranked our top 10 Christmas movies. We made a really solid like list of like 30 films or whatever. And yeah, it was a really fun time. Does anybody want to add anything, about movies, Christmas, or like plug anything?
No,
Okay.
just have a Merry Christmas, everybody, and a Happy New Year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hope you had a Merry Christmas. Hope you have a Happy New Year. And yeah, this was a great time. Please make sure you like and subscribe and watch our other videos. We did a big Disney animated one. We ranked all 61 Disney animated films. That one hasn't been dropped yet, but maybe by the time this one does, it will have been. I'm not sure. But I'll probably try to get this one out quicker. But yeah. So thank you for watching. And wait, are you ranking with me?
Yes.